Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, thank you. And why does the paper have to go over, ladies, and not under? Over's better. Guys don't care, right? I care. Over. Oh, God.
Over is the correct answer.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yeah.
All right, a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco and Beards heading up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. A lot of stuff to get into today. We got some NFL football to talk about. Boy, some interesting stuff in the AFC West this week. Some shakeup going on in the West. College football to talk about. Bowl season rolling along. KU with the 3-overtime loss last night to Arkansas. K-State gets in action roughly 49 hours from now when they take off. Oh, Nelly, let me tell you about Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. So we'll talk about that. We got some college basketball that we can get into going on, and hot and heavy into conference season with KU and K-State starting their Big 12 season coming up on Saturday. Mizzou opening up the SEC slate. The big win over UK. So tons of stuff to get into today. 913-912-4810 to join us, to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810 to hang out with us and Give your thoughts, opinions, all of those things. We'll talk with Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast, kcsn.substack.com. We'll get his thoughts on where the Chiefs are right now. This whole Raiders situation is fascinating, so looking forward to hearing what he has to say about, what's going on there in Vegas. Also looking at the DVOA, Football Outsiders, the defense for this Chiefs team. We lamented the defense a couple of times, a number of times this year, and especially coming off the Cincinnati Bengals loss, the Denver Broncos win, and the Houston Texans win. So we talked about the defense, but wanted to actually look at what the overall season ranks are, what the ranks are since the bye week for this Chiefs team, overall DVOA, and then against the pass, against the rush specifically, and just to see where they're at in comparison to the league over that time. And then I also threw in the Bills and Bengals just to see what they're doing defensively over the course of the season. First 7 weeks of the season since the Chiefs bye week, so week 9 to present, all of those things. So we'll get into that and talk about that with Matt Lane coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. He also wrote at KCSN about the pass rush for the Chiefs and starting to come on and get hot at the right time. So while we've seen this team sack the quarterback a number of times, starting to feel like maybe the pressures are more consistent and sacks and all of those things. So we'll talk with Matt Lane, his assessment, what he's seeing, specifically talking about the pass rush and then just overall defense. And I know he is, I don't want to say that, I don't want to put words into his mouth or tweets. I don't think he's a defender of Spags can do no wrong. I think he's more of a, hey, let's live in reality here. Let's not overreact. Not everything going on with the defense is just simply fire Steve Spagnuolo. So I do want to get his thoughts on where he feels like the responsibility, some of the issues on defense, or even some of the things that have been going right for this defense, where Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, comes in, and maybe what he's been seeing, if there are those exotic pressures in the back end, if they are able to disguise different things and switch up after the snap, and things that we know Steve Spagnuolo likes to do. So Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock. Chiefs press conferences today. We'll hear from the coordinators, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, and Eric Bieniemy. And today, assistant coach day. So we'll hear from some of the assistant coaches today. We'll react to the press conference, what we hear in the noon hour. And then, of course, sports or leisure today in the 1 o'clock hour. Try to get as many winners for Johnny's Tavern and $25 at Johnny's Tavern for a little sports or leisure today. 913-912-4810. It's good to see your face, Josh.
It's so nice to see your face again, Jason.
It's
It
nice.
was gone for so long. I knew your voice, but you walked in. I said, sir, excuse me. I believe that's Jason Anderson's seat. Can you give him a minute?
Are you supposed to be here, sir? I think, did we not fix the glitch here? What's the deal? Why is this guy back?
I thought we had the door locked, and then you started speaking, and I went,
Yeah.
Jason Anderson, I remember you.
Or
How
James?
are you old so-and-so? You James Anderson.
Is that James Anderson, or is that Josh Anderson? Is it Soren Petro, according to Adam
Ask
Teicher?
Adam Teicher, yeah.
Or what I really love is how often it's Jason Alexander,
That one's good, though.
including last week in the in one of the studios there in Louisville doing the show.
Oh, no.
And like the new sales director or whatever that's there, met him a couple of times. Met him here in Kansas City. So I'm doing the show, and it's right next to one of the main hallways, the glass behind us, and you can hear the people talking. It's not exactly the soundproof glass that's there. You can hear the people talking. And he's talking to some clients, and he's walking by, and he stops where I'm doing the show, and he kind of looks in. He's like, this is Jason Anderson, came here, started the station, and got everything up and rolling, back in 2010 and everything. Excuse me, I messed up there.
You said your name correctly,
Yeah.
and that was shocking, so I was just...
He said, this is Jason Alexander. Started the station, back in 2010 and got everything up and rolling and everything. And now
Thinking
he's
about
back
naming
in
the
KC.
studio after him. Call it the Jason Alexander Studio.
Now he's back in KC, and I'm just like, I've met you like 10 times.
I almost said, oh, God, I hope he doesn't listen to the show. But I know he doesn't listen to the show because if he did, he'd know your name.
Exactly. So, yeah, James Anderson, Josh Anderson, Soren Petro, Jason Alexander. That's fine. I don't care what you call me as long as you call me.
Oh, my goodness.
All that matters. So it is good to be back. And
where everyone knows your name, just like they say in Seinfeld. That's Seinfeld, right, with Jason?
No, you idiot. It's Friends.
Sorry, that's a Friends thing.
You're so stupid. How do you not know that?
Phoebe Bridgers.
How do you not know that? I was not disappointed in you yesterday. I was expected that when Mick Schaefer was talking about the bowl games that he watched and he said the Bourbon Bowl, I knew exactly that he was talking about Waterboy. And I'm like, the Bourbon Bowl, that's nice. And I knew that you didn't get that.
No, straight over my head.
Yeah, and I wasn't even disappointed in him. Like, that's why even be mad about that?
That's the thing. You know what? At this point, I'm not just doing a bit because, like, when you're gone, I still don't know movies that came out before I was born.
But also, don't you think there's like a 50-50 chance that there was a bowl named the Bourbon Bowl?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
you could call if it was in Kentucky somewhere. Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't
the games being hosted in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and it's the Bourbon Bowl.
Why not? It could have been
cool.
like the bourbon roasted bowl presented by Applebee's, and it's like a specific menu item. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Chicken fried.
Yeah, the chicken fried. Well, hold on now.
The cold beer on a Friday night.
I don't want to create any enemies, but that's not my favorite song in the world.
Oh,
I know it's a lot of people's favorite song.
Because here's the thing, I combined those two. I went with that one, and then instead of the actual Applebee's song, when it was late night, right? Applebee's on a late night or whatever.
Yeah. Both not my genre.
Which shows you my also knowledge in that genre. Would be like, it sounds like the song that was very popular at the time when everybody was singing it about Applebee's and stuff like that. Kind of sounds like it. Then they had the guy for what was he halftime at the Bengals game? And then they lost that game?
Yeah, I think it's the Zach Taylor Band. I think that's right.
I'm not sure.
That is the Zach somebody band. The Zach Brown Band. Yeah, but if they played it at halftime of the Bengals game, it'd be the Zach Taylor Band. That's Chicken Fried as opposed to the Applebee's guy who's
I thought the Applebee's guy was at halftime of Cincinnati.
No, he was, but the Zach Brown Band did Chicken Fried, and the Applebee's guy I think is Walter Matthau, I think is what it was.
Is that right?
Walker. It's Walker something.
Diabetes.
That's Walker Hayes. I knew that. I didn't Google it. I just remembered.
Okay. You know what? The Chiefs should have the Dan Band. Next time they host a playoff game, whether it's in the wild card round, the divisional round, I want the Dan Band there.
And they're all Daniel Sorensen.
It's just the curse words and everything.
In Chuck E. Cheese style costumes as Daniel Sorensen.
And I see that look in your eye, turn around.
I don't see the problem with any of this.
I don't either. So all that to be said, we'll talk with Matt Lane. We'll hear from the Chiefs coordinators and assistant coaches. And, of course, Sports or Leisure, $25, Johnny's Tavern, coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. And, yes, it is nice to be back and to see your lovely smiling faces.
Look at how big Beards' beard is.
It's a bigger beard than it was when I left a couple weeks ago. So.
It is.
I need to trim it.
Disagree.
No,
Disagree. I think you at least got to grow it out until it got a little warmer today, so maybe that it would be the time. But I think you let it grow until spring.
Yeah, don't be Brian Daboll. Don't shave your face when it's about to be 0 degrees. It's 50 degrees. Let me grow this beard. Oh, it's going to be in the negatives? Let me shave this. Let me have my skin just right there up against the weather.
Yeah, I want to look like Tom Coughlin by the end. He's just trying to follow in the footsteps of Tom Coughlin, where by the end of his coaching career, his face is just going to be chapped red.
Did Rocky not have a razor in Rocky IV, or was it really cold in Russia and that's why he grew the beard?
I've only seen the first one. I wouldn't know.
How would any of us know this? No one's seen Rocky IV. It's not even a real movie. They just pretended to release a fourth one. I can't look Jason in the eyes. This is one advantage to him not being here.
I mean,
that's when I'm too ashamed to look at him. It's not difficult to avoid the eye contact.
How is this not taught in school for you, Beards, and at home for you, Josh?
I was homeschooled.
Well, Josh was homeschooled.
Yes. So. Was rated PG-13. Probably wasn't allowed to say.
Ended the Cold War.
Oh, wow.
How did you guys not learn about this? I am sick and tired of the history books being changed from what actually happened.
That's a great point.
Rocky IV ended the Cold War. Prove me wrong.
I can't.
Anyway, he had a beard when he was in Russia training to go against Drago!
It was just cold.
Yeah.
It was just building up a little padding and a little insulation.
While climbing a 20,000-foot mountain just with some sweatpants on in Russia.
You could do that.
But he had a beard, so he was warm.
So he was nice and toasty.
Perfectly warm. All right, so we're off to a fantastic start.
I just wish there would have been something interesting on TV last night.
No, nothing to talk about at all. All right, let's get into the conversation. Do we start with KU's bowl or Mizzou basketball or the Raiders?
Oh, well.
All three of them could be an entire hour conversation. I want to start with the KU bowl.
Here's a stat I'll give you to launch you that direction. I had to check it this morning. With 1 minute and 23 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Arkansas had a win probability of 99.9% on ESPN's win probability chart.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
And hey, they won, so I mean, it was it didn't work out that way.
See?
But holy bleep! What a football game! What a football fourth quarter!
But it's a great point. Why is everybody overreacting to the fact that they had a 99.9% chance to win? Yes or no, did they win?
They won the game.
Okay.
Should have been a 100% chance. Never in doubt.
I just said, you know what? There is a slight chance that KU can come back and win. But even if they were to pull off this crazy, crazy comeback, odds are they lose in overtime because you just see the better team and all of that stuff in Arkansas. Maybe you can't onside kick or whatever, and so just the better players over the course of those overtimes will eventually win and everything. I'll give it a 99.9% chance of them finding a way to win this game. Either you recover an onside kick, or you stop them from scoring the touchdown, or you stop them from getting the 2-point conversion, or you win in overtime. Any of those things happen, they win this game, 99.9% chance. KU had to do everything the other way, and they almost did it all.
With 1 minute and 12 seconds left, they were down 38-23 on 2nd and 29 at the Arkansas 40.
It went from a game that was boring.
Yep.
You felt like, oh boy, I thought Kansas wanted this more. Mm-hmm. I thought this meant more to KU and the fans down there, and Arkansas was kind of going through the motions, and Sam Pittman had to come out how many different times and say, no, we want to be here. It's like one of those thou doth protest much. Mm-hmm. It's like, are you telling everybody, or are you trying to convince yourself? No, we want to talk about the people here. Yes, there are a lot of people on our two deep that are not here. We want to talk about the people that are here. We're focusing on that, not focusing on who is transferred or going to the NFL and all of that stuff. Sort of telling you that, hey, our team looks different, but we don't care about that. And Arkansas fans are like, do we even watch the game, or do we watch, the basketball game and the SEC, season for this Arkansas top 20 team and top 10 team and, Musclemen and what they might do this year? Do we watch that? Let's pay more attention to the basketball game, right? And so it went from a game where it was just Arkansas just boat racing to then a complete and total turnaround and KU fighting back and doing what they've done under Lance Leipold, which is continue to play till the final whistle, until the game is over, and fight and come back and scratch and claw. Some things fell in their favor. Can you create your own luck? You certainly can. Is there luck involved? Yeah, a bounce of a ball one way or another, but you also have an opportunity to get that bounce of a ball go your way because you were only down 8 at that point instead of being down 15. At that point, it doesn't matter. Bounce a ball went your way, you got the onside kick. Cool. Did you get another one? No, but we got that one. So it was highly entertaining. The theater, the drama, all of that was great for the final, for the fourth quarter and then the 3 overtimes as well. I actually don't. It's interesting what a fourth quarter can do and what a comeback can do, because I don't feel like that should be a disappointment for KU in that game. Even in a loss, even with the backdrop of us saying, it means more to KU and Arkansas this and Arkansas that, they could have folded up the tent and just went home and said, good season. Went to a bowl, did all that stuff, and just, Arkansas is a good team. They got some good players, and boy, that KJ Jefferson is pretty good. And Jalen Daniels struggled for a little bit, and just once that happens, you just needed to play your best football. But they didn't. They came back, they fought, they scored. Jalen Daniels was phenomenal. And to me, I don't really come away from that game with a, boy, how disappointed do you have to be if you're Kansas? Yeah, 7-6 looks better than 6-7, certainly. But that game came down to a play here or there at the end, and you put yourself in position to do that. I think there's nothing but it seems like positivity and momentum moving forward with this KU program. Win or lose against Arkansas, it kind of felt like it was house money until you were down by, 25 points. Then it was like, well, that sucks. Once you got back in it, even before the onside kick, it kind of felt like house money again.
I thought I had my take for the day pretty much set in stone. By halftime, if not right out of halftime, they punt again. And it was, as far as I could tell, really untimely turnovers. That Jalen Daniels just doesn't throw some of those passes very often. That is what it is. And the defense is terrible. Those are kind of the two takes that I was coming in with, was bad turnovers early on and nothing from your defense got out of hand is what it is. And as the comeback, and God bless the broadcast team, because I was about to tweet about it, and then they were right. It was always, Kansas doesn't need to get desperate here. That Jalen Daniels pooch punt into the end zone, I had a vein pop out of my neck. I was furious.
I felt like Twitter collectively all at one point did the same thing.
It was like Alderaan blowing up in Star Wars. There was a disturbance in the Force when Jalen Daniels punted on 4th and 4.
I'm not aware of the reference.
That's okay. This is an incredible phenomenon for us to share the inverse of.
It's a very big blind spot for me.
That's okay. It gives me it's a very small but inclusive visual spot for me. So I'll take it. But it was always, they don't have to get desperate. They just need to string a good drive together. And it did require a touchy fumble on a great hit, and the ruling stood. It required a eventual targeting call late in the game on a 2-point conversion that kept things alive. That's obviously much farther on beyond when the comeback had just finished. But just to not even stick around, to fully make that comeback and to turn that game from a snooze fest into a thriller. Didn't see it coming at about halftime. Even as I kept watching, thinking it would be great for these Kansas guys to have a moment here. Didn't think it was going to end in triple overtimes and penalty kicks, but it ended up being, as you said, house money. Still kind of an exclamation. If it's not an exclamation point at the end of the season, it's an ellipses, where it feels like there's still something to come for Kansas.
I like that.
And it just could not have been much more of a beautiful, unhinged fourth quarter and overtimes.
The next steps for KU football.
Fire Steve Spagnuolo.
Well, that's the obvious one.
Obviously.
Yes. In an odd way, it's kind of the reaction last night to the final play.
Mm-hmm.
The play was there.
Mm-hmm.
Bean missed him.
Yep.
It sucks. Had 2 passes, both of them incomplete. My immediate reaction was, boy, how do you take the ball out of Jalen Daniels' hands there with that 2-point conversion? Now, I understand that it was like the 25th 2-point conversion / 4th down and short play that they ran. And even against, what was it, the Bengals? That Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes had talked about that, well, we had already had a number of 4th down plays that we ran and 2-point or whatever it was, and 2-point plays that we ran at that point. So I think it might have been the Bengals game. It was one of those games.
The Chiefs ran one of those games. They ran like 90 offensive plays.
And it was, but there was also like,
specifically the short yardage stuff?
Specifically where I remember Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes saying that they had already run a number of their 4th down and short, 3rd down and short, 2-point conversion type plays that were there. And, that goes into the thinking and things like that. So maybe there is a list of like 10, and they went through 5. And number 6 was Jason Bean. You pitch it back to him. He rolls right. He's got an open receiver. He's got a choice of 2 guys in the end zone, or he can run it himself. Or he could stop and throw it all the way back across the field because there was nobody within 15 yards of Jalen Daniels. Mm-hmm. But what player is really going to do that and say, oh, wait, I wonder if anybody stayed with Jalen Daniels way back there when I haven't looked and I'm running this way. So that's extreme. My first reaction was how do you take the ball out of Jalen Daniels' hands? And part of that is a reactionary, result-oriented take. That if he throws it and hits Fairchild, I think is not Casey, but Fairchild, if he hits him and they extend the game, win or lose, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be like, oh, my God, how did you run a reverse to Jason Bean? So I get that.
No one would say it. Absolutely.
Totally understandable. But some of the reaction was like, it wasn't a blanket dismissal of criticism. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like that. Like there was some there. But I do think the next step for KU football and even Lance Leipold is when something like that happens, that there is a loud outrage of the hell are you doing? Why would you do that? And there are a group of fans that are like, no, you can't do that. While also some that might be, no, I understand the play call. Here's what happened in this situation. Here's why they went there. No, not good enough. You got an opportunity. You took the ball out of, like we talk about it with Patrick Mahomes. I know Jalen Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, not the same player, but what Jalen Daniels is to that
Might as well be.
Seriously.
What Jalen Daniels is to that KU offense in the second half is what we've seen from Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
And it's like, hold on, you ran a reverse pass with Chad Henne, in the game. What are you doing? Right? It would be so much criticism there because the expectations are so high that if you don't convert in a play in which you take the ball out of his hands, well, now, Lucy, you got some splaining to do, right? If you convert with that, okay, hey, Sneaky, nice job. Great catch, Mays. Or Hayes, don't ever bleep and do it again, right? Okay. I do think the next step is when there would be you lost this game, what the hell is wrong? Mm-hmm. Because once they started off the way they did and it was one more win to get to bowl eligibility, they got past 2.5, blew past that, blew past 3.5, 4.5, all the new futures and totals for KU that Vegas kept putting out there. They kept blowing past them and blowing past them. There wasn't a whole lot of criticism even in a loss. What are you going to do? Still building the program. That's the next step. I don't think it's right now. I don't think it's a Lance Leipold, what the hell are you doing? What's the problem with that? I understand some of the different things that go into it, and there's the overarching, boy, what an amazing season. Kind of a dream season for KU in that position. And you know what? Lance Leipold, he's done a whole lot of things right, and if that worked out, it would have been right along the line of, hey, he's just pressing a lot of the right buttons. It's
really cool for Kansas football to have a game with a reason to react as if there were consequences. Mm-hmm. Because there were. That hasn't happened in a decade. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about 10 years of inept football, and now we're dissecting a final 2-point conversion play in the third overtime of a bowl game.
Yeah.
Here's how I'm going to split my hairs and have it both ways on the play call and how do you take it out of Jalen Daniels' hands. The play call worked. Fairchild was there. I think Bean could have had the pylon also. I'm less confident in that, but he had Fairchild 89 the whole play. He was just dumping right over the middle. What frustrates me there isn't even like the nature of the play call, but it's taking the ball out of Jalen Daniels' hands as a decision maker. Because right there in that tension, Jason Bean made the wrong decision. He could have, and I don't know that he ever saw 89. I have no doubt in my mind that Daniels would have. And if he saw 89 and went, I don't like that, or if he saw the pylon, I don't know that I've got it, whatever he did as option number 3, throwing the ball out of the back of the end zone was a 0% chance of completion move there. I feel bad for Bean because that's how the season ends on his shoulders. But if
Jalen Daniels, that, though, I mean, even if they convert, it just goes into another overtime.
Correct. Yeah. And you tell me when you think KU is stopping Arkansas. That does KU. I would have bet on Arkansas most of the overtime there. I think
they weren't down 1 at the end of regulation.
Correct.
So let's go for 2. That's the play they ran. You're like, wow, you get that, you win. You didn't get it, now you lost the game. They
it's
still
a very
had
good,
to win another overtime.
That's a very good point because I think it probably ends somewhat like that anyway. But I just wish Daniels would have had the opportunity in that position to be the one making the decision. Yeah. But I also understand that I think Leipold said they were basically on play 6 of 6 for that equation, and it just about worked.
And you're right. The execution was there outside of the final piece of throwing the football
on the move, which is hard,
or maybe getting to the pylon.
Yep.
All right, 913-912-4810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll talk a little Mizzou basketball. We'll also get into the Raiders issue and Derek Carr. And now stepping away from the team, not only them starting Jarrett Stidham and making Derek Carr inactive, but now he's just leaving the team. Wow. And you've got Nathaniel Hackett being fired in Denver and what's going on there, and Russell Wilson saying, man, I just feel bad for him. I mean, I'm not fired, and I'm still cashing a check, so it's all good there. But, man, I feel bad for him. He didn't say that, but it felt like that. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sony Michel signing with the Chargers after being released by the Dolphins. Vizio Michel is heading to the Raiders.
Good. You deserve that.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com. We'll talk with him about the Chiefs, about the AFC West, and what a difference, 8-9 months make from the arms race. The Cold War in the West, trying to catch the Chiefs, spending money, assets, draft picks, cap space, and the Broncos have fired their head coach, and Derek Carr has been benched for the last 2 weeks and will be leaving or stepping away from this Raiders organization. I do want to talk about that here in just a little bit, but another game going on last night with Mizzou knocking off UK and winning by 14, moving to 12-1 on the season now, 1-0 in the SEC, back-to-back top 25 wins. And a few takeaways from this as they now get ready for Arkansas. And it's what you can learn from an embarrassing defeat, like it was in the blowout loss to KU at home there in Columbia, because since then they're 3-0. They have the buzzer beater against UCF. There's certainly some luck that goes into that. As we've talked about, luck, create your luck, whatever it might be. They win that game, and then they just dominate Illinois and Kentucky, both of them. Back-to-back top 25 wins. They trailed in those two games for a total of 101 seconds. Less than 2 minutes of actual game time, Mizzou trailed in that, while trailing most of the KU game and trailing and back and forth with UCF. They've turned some things around. And I always wonder what teams look like before and after finals week in college basketball, because there's always that week that they get the week off. In December, it's odd because November you're playing all of these games, you're playing tournaments, you're playing, you might have 4 days in a row where you've got a game and you're playing like a Tuesday and a Saturday and then another tournament, and you've got all these games that are hot and heavy, and then December comes and you get to mid-December and it's like, okay, now you got one game over the next 2.5 weeks or something like that, because you've got finals and the Christmas break and things like that. When finals hit, these college basketball teams, and the coaches talk about it a lot, that's where they can get a lot of work done. You've had an early part of the season to assess what's going on. You now get to take a breather, and all you have is practice every day. And your team, probably the way it's set up, I would guess, might have finals early in the week. And then at that point, you are just in the gym. Basketball. You don't have to worry about going around classes, all the different class schedules, all of that. It's just basketball for like a week. And you can focus and hone in and really work on the things that have been affecting your team, good or bad, in the first, 8, 9, 10 games of the season. And I wonder what Mizzou would look like coming out of that defensively, because they had looked bad defensively, and it almost felt like they were getting worse and worse and worse as the season would go. They were scoring at will, but they weren't stopping anybody. They were winning 95-89 against, inferior opponents. And then KU goes in there and does whatever they want to do, and they looked like they were just not interested in playing defense whatsoever. To me, that's been the huge change, is what they've looked like defensively. Now, maybe Dennis Gates spent the entire time saying, do you guys want to be a good team that can score a lot of points and maybe make the tournament? Or do you want to be a great team? Because until you stop somebody, you're not going to be a really good team. You don't have a chance of competing in the SEC, of beating a UCF or beating an Illinois or a Kentucky or an Arkansas. You are going to get the doors blown off you every single game you play, because if you are not hot and going out there and scoring 90, if you're giving up 90, you're going to lose by 20, 25 points against this competition. You've got no chance. There's been something has changed in the defense for Mizzou since that embarrassment to KU, when they just looked like they were uninterested in playing defense. Defense was an activity to pass time before they got the ball back to go down and score. Hey, we're on defense. Okay. Ooh, ball. Let's go. 3. Missed it. Oh, they scored. Ball. Come on. Let's go. Come on down the other side of the court with me. Oh, you shot. Oh, you missed it. Come on.
We finally had a team who could have done the cherry pick defense, Beards. I know how much you love that.
That's right. But they've been totally bought in. Illinois, there was suffocating defense against Kentucky, suffocating defense. And the thing that, I had wondered about Dennis Gates is how long it would take for his defense to look a little bit like Florida State and Leonard Hamilton when it was really predicated on switching defenses, confusing offenses, and tipped balls that result in steals. And against Illinois and Kentucky, there were so many tipped passes that resulted in steals. And Mizzou right now is number 1 in the country in steal percentage. They are number 2 in the country offensive effective field goal percentage, which is what I am a huge, huge believer in effective field goal percentage. This is not a team that's going to win a national title. Hey, go to the tournament.
Right,
See if you can win a game. But looking at effective field goal percentage and why I'm a huge believer in it, these are the national championship ranks out of 360 teams in effective field goal percentage. 29-7, 19-1, 115 North Carolina.
Really?
8-4. It's top 30, essentially top 20 and really top 10 in effective field goal percentage are the teams that are winning national titles. I love the stat. I'm a huge believer in the stat. And Missouri has not had a team that can do that in a long time, and Dennis Gates is doing that while also defensive turnover percentage. They're number 6 in the country, and what he did at Cleveland State, the trend, offensive effective field goal percentage at Cleveland State, 347th, 141st, 43rd, and now they're number 2. Assist percentage at Cleveland State, 212, 132nd, 16th. Now they're ranked 27th in the country at Missouri against better opponents. Well, better opponents lately. Defensive turnover percentage, 73rd, 96th, 28th, now number 6. Steal percentage, 57, 96, 25, now number 1. So he's got things that he really believes in, and I didn't know how quickly he would be able to have those things start to happen at Mizzou. I think it's been really impressive, and I had joked a few weeks ago before the KU game that I had said, my buddy said, hey, is this Mizzou team for real? And I said, talk to me in a few weeks.
Right.
And the way they're playing defense, they are for real. What does for real mean? It's a relative term in Missouri basketball compared to UConn, that's, one of the favorites to win the national title, and KU and teams like that. But for real, yeah, I think they're a for real tournament team.
Yeah.
That it's the rest of the way going, what are your quad 1 wins? What are your quad 2 wins? What are your quad 3 wins? Do you have any bad losses on your resume? Things like that. That I think they're for real, because if they can play anywhere near the defense they're playing right now, they can win some games because they can score.
KU football went from a 2.5 win over-under to being bowl eligible.
Yeah.
If Mizzou in year 1 with Dennis Gates is simply, and right now, this seems low, if they just make the tournament, which, hear me again say, that seems like asking for too little based off these last 2 games. What a turnaround. I mean, yeah. I joked last week, maybe it was half joking, and I'm sticking with it. There are going to be people who see Mizzou for the first time in March, and they go, boy, how long has Dennis Gates been there to turn this whole thing around? Because they haven't been good for a while, right? How long was Konzo there? What about...
Hold on, Missouri still has a basketball program?
Right. I mean, it's really going to be like,
them.
wow, he must have really built that up over a couple of years. And your offensive numbers here certainly don't make this, keep this from being 100% true. But my hunch, generally speaking, in college basketball is that defense is reflective of coaching and offense is reflective of your talent. It obviously overlaps, right? I mean, that's very, very, very reductive. But to know that this defense has, over the span of these last 3 games, looked so much better than they did against Kansas. Giving up 95 points to Kansas isn't the worst thing a college basketball team can do, but it's not great. But how good the defense has been in that turnaround in that period you just broke down, while they've continued being able to not just score, but you've got guys who you just think, oh, he can get a bucket. Like, he can just, if you leave this guy open, he'll hit that shot, or if you give this guy a seam, he'll go get a bucket. The fact that you can do that on any level in college ball, it ends up being my biggest hang-up with like the sport in general, is if you don't hit the open shot that I know someone at a higher level of basketball is going to hit, it just sort of deflates me a little bit. And Missouri's hitting shots, getting buckets, and playing excellent defense against really good opponents, specifically these last 2, and now we get to see it again against Arkansas in a few days. What more could you ask for? I don't know. If you saw this and you said, well, yeah, but I wish they wouldn't have gotten blown out against Kansas, you were complaining about the Christmas presents you didn't get, I have to imagine. Yeah. Because this has been remarkable.
One of the stats that came out last night, which is just phenomenal, is think it was Jeff Borzello, that what Kobe Bryant has done the last 2 games against ranked opponents, scoring 30 points and wins. The last time it's been done 3 straight times, which Arkansas is a ranked opponent. If Kobe Bryant can score 30 against Arkansas, by the way, just like, if he could just score 30.
Again, just the 3rd time in a row.
Last time that's happened was 2008, Steph Curry.
Good Lord.
In the NCAA tournament.
That's hilarious.
So Kobe has done it back-to-back games. The last time it's happened 3 straight times was Steph Curry in the NCAA tournament in 2008. It's been unreal what the coaching staff and Dennis Gates, and you certainly credit the player, what they have unlocked in Kobe. Because the talent was there. You saw flashes from time to time. But this is a dude who walks out there against a bunch of kids that were wearing McDonald's jerseys as high schoolers and thinks, I'm the best player on this court. That's the National Player of the Year in Oscar Tshiebwe, but I'm still the best player on the court. And that's a confidence that is earned, and you gotta work on it, right? You gotta actually have some game, and you gotta have a coaching staff that can put him in position to where he can succeed, get the most out of his ability, and then let him just simply go and play and use his instincts, because he's the biggest difference maker right now, because they win against Illinois and Kentucky, and he has 30 in back-to-back games, and he's been mismatches problems for both opponents. It's been phenomenal what's happened. So huge credit to Kobe Bryant, because you've seen flashes, but there's something different about him this year with this team and this coaching staff.
The Kobe Bryant experience has been a group project, both from his side and from the coaching staff side. Consistency is hard to achieve. Those splashes and flashes you mentioned last year, that's one thing. If he can do not just 30 points against ranked opponents every time, although, hey, I'd take it. But if he can be consistently excellent for this team, the keystone of the whole deal, it's hard not to get excited about what Mizzou basketball could be doing in March. I don't want to overinflate your hopes, everybody. But God, it's a good start.
Basketball is so much between the ears when you talk about like shooters and scoring and having confidence. These are some of the best basketball players in the country. You're playing Division I, whatever it is. Like, you're a phenomenal basketball player. And you can probably sit in a gym and knock down 20 straight threes. I've talked about it a couple times that one of my good friends was dominant at Lee Summit North, went and played at SMU, role player, good player, I think it was like 3-4 points per game. We would come back in like the summer and hang out and play ball at like pickup ball or whatever. He would sit behind the 3-point line like NBA range and just make 15 in a row. And then he'd play at SMU and be like, oh, he played 12 minutes that game. And then come back and it's, he's, pulling up from half court and just burying him. Point guard on a national championship Louisville team named Peyton Siva, before a game warming up, would hit 12 or 13 straight threes at the top of the key. He shot 15% from 3, it felt like, that year. He couldn't hit a bucket. He shot a 3 one time that got stuck between the backboard and the rim. Like, it was awful. But before the game, knocking him down. That's exactly right. He hit in the middle of a game. Like, that's embarrassing to do that. There's so much between the ears, and that, to me, is a coaching staff unlocking the guys to say, hey, those guys out there shouldn't be looking at Kentucky players and going, I can take this guy. You should. What are you doing? But that coaching staff has them believing, and when you do that, the talent is there because they're playing at that level for a reason. They've put in the work in the gym. I guarantee, you can sit outside the 3-point line, and Kobe Bryant could probably make, 20 in a row. 18, 19 of 20. Like a really good free throw shooter, that'd be, a Division I college player from the top of the key. You're just burying them. What happens in a game? When you're tired, when the pressure's on you, when you need to get a bucket, do you look at the other guy and go, I can take him? That to me is a lot in the coaching staff of this team being aggressive and saying, shoot your shot. As long as you're playing defense and you're hustling and you're running, I don't mind if you take a shot. Be smart. Don't take a dumb shot. But we're here to score. And you're on the court because you can score, so go do it. No matter, and whoever you are, go do it. It's been an interesting start and a very positive and I would say exciting start for the Mizzou basketball program, and it's been like that for all 3 of these local teams. It's been a lot of fun. So college basketball should be a blast moving forward with the local teams. It look like they have some coaches in place that are good to go moving forward. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
He's eighth, but that's a little misleading because it's Cumulatively.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll talk some NFL football with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Talk about this Derek Carr issue, and oh man, it's unbelievable. Like honestly, like we could spend, and hell, we might. I don't know. We could spend the next hour talking about, the issues there in Vegas.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels. I mean, I didn't save the clip from Devontae Adams. It was like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But when he says, "I'm going to stick by my guy," and he's the main reason I'm even here. Stick by my guy means I'm backing whatever's going on behind the scenes that we know about that you guys may not know about. I'm rolling with the quarterback, my guy. He didn't have to say I'm sticking by my guy because he started it with there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and in this situation it's unfortunate, blah, blah, blah. He could have said, then he goes, but I'm sticking by my guy. And look, main reason I'm here. Okay.
Half of the AFC West is on fire.
Yeah. Tire fire, dumpster fire, any type of fire.
Getting fired.
That's right. And the Chiefs play those teams next.
Oh, yeah, they sure do.
That playing next.
Come on.
You're in the zone.
Perfect sports radio right there. That's great. It's awesome. Worst thing ever. Dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
With Jason Anderson.
I kind of agree with both.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
By the way, if you watch in the breaks, the microphones aren't on, but Frank Bull was hanging out here for a little bit, and we were talking about something non-sports related, and I was making like a hand gesture of the story. It was like, and you know what, and you leave, and I did that, and right as I did that, Frank leaves and then closes the door.
Let me go see if I can clip that.
And I wonder if that can be seen like in the commercial break of me like making the hand gesture of leave, and then he closes the door, and we immediately put our headphones on as if like, hey, we got a show to do. Get the hell out, Frank.
God, I would love to tell Frank to go bleep himself. Oh, God, I would love to be able to do that someday.
Scum. Scum.
I just know that it would be the last action of my life, and
he would
be right.
Down. He would.
My God, yeah.
That's a guy who can climb that 20,000 foot mountain in just some sweatpants like Rocky and Rocky.
Doesn't even need the beard.
That's a good point.
No big deal.
That's a great point. Rocky needed the beard. What a pansy. And he needed Uncle Paulie and Adrian to help him do like sit-ups and the rowing. If they weren't there, thank God Paulie and Adrian were there to help him add some weight so he could really get in shape for the stereotypical Russian that's taking steroids. 913.
This video really looks like you put Frank in his place.
Yeah. Anderson's tired of Frank's bleep. The hell out of here. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Let's talk some Chiefs football, even some NFL football. Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you guys for having me as always. And, I'm doing pretty good. We got these holidays. We're still in the middle of two of them here, so It's been a pretty good time.
Okay, still in the middle of some holidays for you and your family.
Yeah, well, so today's actually my wife's birthday, and then we got New Year's coming up in a couple days. So we have a busy stretch here in the Lane household. So yeah, it's still pretty festive around here.
I stress out about that. Christmas happens, and then Valentine's Day is in February, and then my wife's birthday is March 16th, and I'm like, I've got 3 out of 4 months to figure out what to do. Is it easier just in one fell swoop? You got the Christmas gifts. A few days later, you got birthday? Or would it be easier if you spread it out by a month or two? Because I'm pretty close to being back-to-back, but you are. Like, you got to figure out both at one time in the year.
Right. Oh, and really, actually, too, my dad's birthday comes up on New Year's Eve as well. Like, I got all sorts of stuff back-to-back. For me, it's easier because then you only have like this one little moment where you have to be thinking about things to do.
Yeah.
And yes, you got to think of a lot of stuff, but I only have to figure out for this 1 week stretch of all these different things. There's not any gaps in there. From their perspective, though, I'm sure having a birthday right after Christmas and wedged in between other holidays is probably not the most fun.
No, not at all.
My birthday's 2 days before Christmas, Matt. So if your wife wants to join a support group or anything, for just to work through some kind of childhood trauma, I'm here to start one of those.
Happy belated birthday!
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, same. I see. I didn't know this. Now I missed one already, and you're
you have like 360 some days to prepare for next year, so I expect something special.
Okay. Were we? No, that was the.
It was Friday.
I took the day off for your birthday.
That was the greatest gift of all. Really was Jason's not here. I guess if you insist.
That's
my gift was hanging out like 3 hours of Matt Derrick. That was the gift.
My present to you was you not having to put up with me. That was my present. I did remember your birthday. How about that?
It was beautiful.
I just did it subconsciously.
Did you keep the receipt?
It was a gift receipt. I'm not even going to tell you how much it cost. Matt Lane, you'll find out when you get to the register to take it back.
That's good.
Matt Lane is our guest, kcsn.substack.com, KC Laboratory Podcast. You know what? Let's start off with the AFC West before we get into specifically the Kansas City Chiefs. Boy, what an interesting week this has been for 2 of the 3 teams that were pushing their chips into the middle of the table and trading for Devontae Adams and getting Chandler Jones and hiring Josh McDaniels and an offensive guy, and then the Broncos trading for Russell Wilson and Randy Gregory is heading in there. And oh boy, what an interesting week it has been for those 2 teams. What's I guess probably crazier in Derek Carr being benched and leaving the team. But also, Nathaniel Hackett didn't even make it through the first year with Russell Wilson at quarterback. Like, both of these are pretty surprising and shocking developments through 16 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah, they really are. So I guess to start with the Raiders, I always thought the extension that Derek Carr was given, he's in a weird spot. Carr's in such a weird spot of NFL quarterbacks because he's probably a little better than what Chiefs fans like to think that he is, just because we've seen so many poor performances by him and so many times where he has kind of melted down against the Bob Sutton defenses, Steve Spagnuolo defenses. But then throughout his career, he's been solid. So he's like this middling quarterback, but he's probably at the top of that mediocre middle-of-the-pack quarterback grouping. So the Raiders come out and they pay him a lot of money, but they do so with this very thing in mind, to where after 1 year, they can get out of this contract. They can move on after 1 year if it's not going to work. So it's surprising that it happened, that a quarterback that's been this good, because Derek Carr has been genuinely good for NFL quarterback standards, to get benched, and essentially for the Raiders to be like, okay, you're still functioning at this level. You're still a quality quarterback. You're not ready to retire, and we're going to pull the plug. We don't want your services anymore. I can only imagine that's where this is going into next year. So the concept is very surprising, but I don't know. They kind of seem like they were planning for this to be a possibility for them, the way they structured that contract from the get-go.
And that's what's a little interesting, too, is, Devontae Adams saying, he's the reason that I'm here in Vegas. And when that extension was signed, there were a lot of people that were saying, okay, is this the last year with Derek Carr? Devontae Adams would have to know that, right? Like, he would have to know that there was a really decent chance that he would only have that 1 year to play with his really good friend in Derek Carr if he, gets traded to the Raiders and signs the extension and all of that stuff.
You would think, right? You would think that would definitely have been a part, but then at the same time, like, the Raiders are bringing in somebody that they, he's not part of their team. He hasn't been there or anything like that. Like, maybe you would share some of that information stuff with the agent, but their job is to get better, to sign the guys they need to. They got Adams on a contract they felt comfortable with. So I can see it both ways. Like, you want to keep him happy. You want to make sure Adams is happy. And if that really mattered to him to play with Derek Carr and he's going to be upset now, then, yeah, you probably should have shared some of this information first. But at the same time, I get it from the team perspective. They gave what they thought was the best chance to win this year. They decided, like, hey, we don't know if Derek Carr is going to be good enough to get us over the Kansas City Chiefs hurdle, so let's pay him. We'll have the option to keep him for multiple years for this stretch, for this run. But if it doesn't work, we can get out after 1 year and kind of try to reset. And it looks like they're taking that option. So I get it from both sides. I'm interested to see what happens. Can they keep Devontae Adams happy and have to do this move with Derek Carr? I don't know, but I think they set themselves up to kind of go either direction with it.
The whole Josh McDaniels thing and what he does in New England and his opportunity in Denver and now with the Raiders, like, Derek Carr this year, since his rookie year, this year he's got the lowest completion percentage of his career, lowest adjusted completion percentage of his career, second lowest yards per attempt, which is part of the completion percentage dropping, second lowest total yards, the lowest rating since his rookie year, all with Josh McDaniels as the head coach and the offensive guy. And now they're going with Jarrett Stidham, and Derek Carr didn't work. And it's also McDaniels, when he got to Denver, traded Jay Cutler and then drafted Tim Tebow. Like, I'm not sure that I'm bringing Josh McDaniels in to be my head coach to say this guy knows what he's doing with quarterbacks.
It's so strange too, because it's hard to decipher what was Josh McDaniels versus what's Bill Belichick, what's Tom Brady in New England. But there was so much success there, and anyone you talk to, players, coaches, people that have covered that team, will give Josh McDaniels a ton of credit for that offense. And I think you've even seen Tom Brady without Josh McDaniels has been a little bit different, especially the second time around. When he has moved on to Tampa and stuff, it's been a different style of offense a little bit for him. So it's so hard to tell. I don't think that the marriage of McDaniels' offense and Derek Carr obviously has not worked. Like what you're saying, it's just been a struggle for Carr to fit into this New England-style passing attack that has all of these option routes from these wide receivers that are requiring the quarterback and the receiver to all be on the same page and then decipher it all immediately and just know where the ball's always going to go. That Derek Carr's okay at that. Again, very, very much a mediocre quarterback almost across the board at everything. And so, like, when you have this offense that requires high-level execution and timing, it seems maybe like it wasn't the best fit for Carr. Now, I don't know how Tim Tebow ever fit into that mold of an offense at any point in time, or nor do I know how Jarrett Stidham is going to fit into it, but I guess there's that familiarity from New England. So it'll be interesting to track. What kind of quarterback does he bring in next? What kind of quarterback does he get if they are trying to change it? But it does not seem like Derek Carr was the type of guy that he wants, and I don't know if I also see them going for one of these super mobile dual-threat quarterbacks either. So it's just going to be interesting to see what McDaniels wants out of that position right now.
Matt Lane is our guest. The Broncos side of it, Nathaniel Hackett has been fired. Not a surprise. Most people expected him to be out at the end of the year just because of how big of a disaster it is this year. How much is it, Russell Wilson, just this might be who Russell Wilson is. Nathaniel Hackett, how much is he a part of whatever's going on with Russell Wilson? So they move on from the coach because it's going to be incredibly difficult to move on from the quarterback. And maybe Sean Payton is the next guy, and they back up the Brinks truck, and he can figure out, the different things to do with Russell Wilson. I do wonder, Matt, when we look at salary cap leagues and everything, do you even start to examine the nuclear option if you're Denver? Of do we take the $100 million dead cap hit and move on from him right now and just say we're going to have a bare bones team for the next couple of years, but we know it ain't working, and we might as well, pull the eject while we can. As opposed to playing it out the next 3 years. And then, oh, by the way, if he plays through 2024 and we release him, then it's still going to be like a $50 million dead cap hit. So, I mean, is there an actual examination of a nuclear option there in Denver with Russell Wilson?
I don't think so. I think it's too much money the next 2 years. I really just think it's simply too much money over the next 2 years that you can't really pull that plug. In the way, I think if you start splitting it out into June 1st cuts and stuff like that, that you could spread it out over 2 years. But it's still, you're splitting up $100 million into 2 years. You're essentially tanking your roster, not just your chances to be competitive, but you're tanking a healthy, functioning NFL roster of, guys are going to have to play more snaps than they would before. People are going to be put out of position. People are going to be looking worse on the football field due to fatigue, injuries, just playing through being hurt, out of position because of all that money. I don't think they have much of an option until you get till that 2025 season. So instead, I think they're going to have to, march Russell Wilson into his own private office, put him in his own little private office, sit him down, be like, listen, you got this. You got the nice office chair. It spins and whatnot. You can Dr. Evil around in here, but you're going to have to change how you play. We're going to have to go to a play-action passing attack. Maybe they adopt the wide zone back that they ran under Mike Shanahan and just turn him into a play-action quarterback and just take everything away from him. They can't build their offense around him, nor do I think they can cut him, and that's just such a tricky spot to be in.
They release him at the end of this year. It's a $107 million dead cap hit. If they play another year and they release him after the 2023 season, it's an $85 million cap hit. If they then play through 2024, 2025, or whatever it is, or after the 2024 season, it's $50 million dead cap hit. And if they play all the way through the 2025 season, so 3 more years, it's still going to cost them over $30 million to cut them in a dead cap hit. It's just,
yeah, it's crazy. And this is how I don't see how, I don't think the rumors are building up super strong, but there's been the Sean Payton stuff out there, or this any coach would want to go to Denver because of this ownership group and stuff. This looks like one of the least appealing jobs that the NFL has probably had over the past few years, because the roster itself isn't that good. And then you still have this issue of Russell Wilson, in which there's been enough to come out now. A lot of players don't particularly like him, within their own team, whether it's ex-players on the Seahawks or current Broncos players. Just some of the stuff they don't believe in this, $100 million quarterback man that they have. He's owed so much money. You have no way out of it. His skills are clearly diminishing to the point to where he's no longer a guy that you build the offense around, but rather you need to, make sure he fits into your offense. So it looks like a terrible job to take. I would be really surprised if that's the best that Sean Payton can do, and he really does just take that for a payday, because that looks like a miserable situation to have to navigate for the next 3 to 4 years.
They also don't have a first or second round pick this year because they traded for Russell Wilson.
Oh,
So
it just gets worse.
they also don't have that. Matt Lane, but you know what? It's nice to not be in that position, and too bad. Feel so bad for the Broncos and Raiders. It's just a tough luck. My heart goes out to them. I'll send them a Christmas card. Matt Lane is our guest. Let's talk some defense with this Chiefs team. Last couple of weeks of the season, you wrote there at kcsn.substack.com and talk about with the Casey Laboratory podcast. This defense and the pass rush, what are you seeing from it? What's your assessment of it as we have 2 more games to play for this team and then on into the postseason where we know it's really going to matter because this entire offseason, Matt, as you know, was about how do you bring down the quarterback because you couldn't do it to Joe Burrow, and that's why you didn't play in the Super Bowl.
So the Seahawks game was a nice test, I think, for the Chiefs pass rush because the Chiefs pass rush this year, 4-man pass rush blitz, if you actually break down the numbers, they've been relatively good. They get a lot of pressures. They've got a fair amount of sacks. Even when you remove blitzes or remove, sacks and pressures from non-defensive linemen, it's been pretty good. But once you then start chopping that up and looking at how they fare against quality offenses, against, the upper echelon of offenses, the teams you expect to face on the way to the Super Bowl, that's when you start to see the Chiefs pass rush, specifically the 4-man pass rush adjusted from the defensive line, start to struggle a little bit. And now the Seahawks aren't necessarily an upper-tier offense, especially as this year's gone on. They've started to show a little bit more holes, but it's still a good unit. It's a decent unit, and they have a quality offensive line. Young, but it's quality guys. They've been playing relatively well. So to see the Chiefs defense come out and just completely control the game and dominate it from the get-go against them, and over 20%, pressure percentage on 20% of Geno Smith's dropbacks, they were getting pressure. The majority of that was coming from defensive linemen. Only a handful of times did it require a blitz to force that one-on-one matchup. So it was a really good showing from the pass rush, and just about everybody got involved. It wasn't just the Chris Jones show, or it wasn't just, insert X, Y, or Z player. It was a little bit of everybody. So it was a really good thing to see coming off of the back of Colin Saunders, Twitter rampage about, why nobody's respecting them and stuff. Like it was clearly something that was on their mind, and they came out and kind of proved it.
Is there something different with Karlaftis over the last 5 weeks? And I know we can, parse out some sacks. I'm like, that was kind of a gifted sack or this or that, but it's still 4 sacks in the last 5 games. Is there something different going on, or is this kind of water finding its level that the number of pressures you consistently do that, the sacks are going to come? They just may happen to do that in bunches.
A little bit of both. So his sack, he was working as a backup tackle. I believe it was Stone Forsythe. So it wasn't their starter, but it was still a really good rush by Karlaftis. That was arguably his best rush that I've seen from him for the Chiefs. Probably one of his better ones going back to college because he attacked quick. He was able to get the edge. He was able to turn the corner, do it all relatively fast rather than later in the down like he had been impacting most of his plays. So that was good to see. I don't know if there's been a wholesale change to what he is doing or anything about his play, but the Chiefs are using him a little bit different. Throughout most of the year, he's been playing a lot of contain. He's been playing kind of through the inside shoulder or through the body of the tackle. He's been trying to force the quarterback to either step up into Chris Jones or to drift back into the opposite defensive end. And him and Carlos Dunlap have kind of been rotating in that role of playing, I calling it, contain or just a second reaction pass rusher. As the years gone on, especially when Frank Clark was suspended and then even now returning, Karlaftis is getting a few more green lights to really try to rush the passer, to be the aggressor rather than a reactive player. And I don't know if he's necessarily been great in that role, but you're seeing more flashes now. So these past few weeks, we're starting to see these flashes as a pass rusher because I think he's given a little bit more of a green light to go be a playmaker rather than just reacting and playing off of everybody else.
If you don't have arms like Chris Jones that stretch out to next week and you're still able to get some passes batted down at the line of scrimmage and do the things that Karlaftis does, is that a skill? Is it just he's been in the right place, right time a number of times, or he's not winning in a pass rush rep, so therefore he finds himself in a passing lane? But I think he leads defensive linemen in batted passes this year. He's been really good at knocking down balls at the line of scrimmage. Is that a skill that's something you can kind of rely on with Karlaftis, that he's just sort of instinctual like that? Or do you think it might be something that's not necessarily predictive of future performance?
Definitely both. So I think playing that second reaction kind of role, being the guy trying to corral the quarterback into other players or watch contain, you're going to have your eyes on him a lot. You're not going to be getting deep up the arc, so you're going to be staying in passing lanes more frequently. So you're getting more opportunities based out of scheme or luck to be there. But that said, the ability to make sure that your chest is free of hands. If a blocker has his hands on you, you can't really elevate to go, blat the ball down. So you still have to make sure you're free of a blocker, and then you have to have great hand-eye coordination to time the jump, get your hands directly on the ball. These quarterbacks aren't – it's not the 80s where quarterbacks are kind of throwing the ball in this exact one line anymore. These guys change their arm angles. They don't step straight forward into every throw anymore. So there's a lot of reaction ability there to it, and it's a trope. But go ahead and saying, he played water polo. It shows up in situations like this because that's a big part of water polo is having to get your hands up and just constantly batting stuff down. So
that's amazing. And maybe it's just me being, maybe it's me playing the role of Josh that didn't know that bronze was like for Trey, for Patrick Mahomes III. Maybe it's that. Maybe everybody's talked about it. I never really connected with the water polo and your arms being a big part of blocking the ball and following it, hand-eye coordination from where somebody's throwing from different angles, from over the top, sidearm, trying to get around your arms and still being able to deflect it. I've never connected that, and I feel kind of dumb, but also I just sit back and am really impressed by you, Matt. Like that's just what it is.
This is the hard-hitting analysis that we have at KCSN. We just look for these cross-sports connections here that we wait until commentators can bring up on game days, such as basketball or water polo.
I mean, honestly, I never thought about that. I feel so stupid. I feel so dumb that I never thought about that. But, I mean, I watch water polo every 4 years. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty smart when it comes to water polo.
It's going to be fresh in your mind. Was it next year or 2 years from now when they pop back up again? You're going to be thinking about Karlaftis every single time you see Greece play.
And had that happened this past summer, I totally would have connected. Like, I watch these water polo athletes, players, swimmers, performers, and boy, the hand-eye coordination to knock the ball down, I feel like that can translate to the NFL for a defensive lineman. I'm just excited about maybe another guy that can knock some passes down at the line of scrimmage besides Chris Jones. That's my assessment. That's my prediction, at least. Instead, I haven't watched it in a couple of years. Usually I'm really fresh on my water polo takes.
No, for sure. And I think that's very clear. And when you see him do it, he elevates, then he finds the ball. Like it very much, you can see it translate straight across. Then you have, on the flip side, you have somebody like Carlos Dunlap, who has super long arms, also really good at batting passes down. It's just a lot different. He just throws those big vines up, and the ball kind of collides into him. And it's still a skill. It's entirely different. And then there's Willie Gay, who just kind of bounces around and jumps super high and swats. Like, they have a bunch of players that bat down passes all in different ways right now. And it's just fun to see kind of a different technique used by all of them. And that's how you can really appreciate it as a skill and not just a happenstance or a little bit of luck.
Matt Lane is our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. You had a Twitter sort of a thread, stream of consciousness of Steve Spagnuolo a couple of weeks ago. And I thought it was fascinating to follow and watch it because there was clearly some frustrations that were there about the blaming everything on Steve Spagnuolo. I tried to describe it in the first hour and saying we're going to talk to Matt Lane about these things. Like, it's not he's just a defender of Spagnuolo. I feel like there's a level of where you're trying to find there are some things that Spagnuolo could do better, but to just say every single play or imperfection or touchdown is specifically because Spagnuolo doesn't know what he's doing. There's probably somewhere in the middle. Where do you come down? Where do you actually land when you look at it and say, here are the frustrations with Spagnuolo, here's what's legit, here's what's not, and here's the actual assessment of what you think the defensive coordinator is doing for this team?
Yeah, my live in-game tweeting Twitter account is like 90% trolling and then like 10% of me recording plays and having real analysis on it because it's just game day stuff. Everyone's emotions are high.
For sure.
So the Steve Spagnuolo stuff, it's a little bit of both. Like, starting overall, I believe, I can't say for sure, but I believe Steve Spagnuolo's contract is up at the end of this season. I don't think, if that's the case, I don't think the Chiefs should renew it at all. They should not bring him back. They should not re-sign him. They should be looking for another defensive coordinator because as much as I give Steve Spagnuolo credit for going and learning about the spread offense, for taking his time off, going to Urban Meyer at Ohio State and being like, hey, how does this offense work so he can figure out ways to stop it? Like, he has tried. He has done a good job. Like, his defenses are not terrible every year, year in and year out, at stopping offenses. The Chiefs got to the Super Bowl with his defense again. Like, I give him credit for trying to change things. However, I think that his personnel, the way that he bases his defense out of, has just kind of been passed over now. He prefers players that are a little too slow, that emphasize run stopping a little too much versus being more athletic, getting after the pass rusher, and just kind of adapting. His scheme has adapted. His player personnel have not, and that's not all on him, but enough of it is that I do think it's time for the Chiefs to move on. That being said, and this is still part of, a little bit on Steve Spagnuolo, a little bit on Brett Veach, you look around the Chiefs' defensive depth chart, it's not loaded with talent. It's not a poor talented team, but it's definitely not loaded with talent on the defensive end compared to other teams in the NFL that have good defenses. You got to work pretty far down, whatever defensive metric you want to use, to find another team that I think kind of matches the Chiefs' defensive talent level, like on the players on the field basis. So it's really hard when everyone just blames Steve Spagnuolo for somebody getting beat in one-on-one coverage, for a guy missing a tackle, for stuff like that. It's not all on him. If he has a player in the right position, he did his job. It's up to the player to make the play, and too often I think that the players don't, and people immediately jump to blaming Spagnuolo because he put a rookie in coverage. He had a safety trying to tackle a running back in the open field. That's football. That's going to happen if you play football. The other team's trying to beat you too. So I just think it's a little bit of his fault. Also, not everybody executes great on every single play.
Last one for you on this. We saw L'Jarius Sneed has been a big part of the conversation since that game against the Seahawks, traveling with DK Metcalf. Is that foreshadowing of what might be taking place moving forward? Is that a one-game specific thing? Because come playoff time, they're going to be going up against some really good wide receivers. Is that something you think Spagnuolo will continue to do? Is it something this team should do in having Sneed or McDuffie travel and shadow a specific receiver?
I think it's a little tricky because this is the way it looked to me. It was L'Jarius Sneed traveling with DK Metcalf gives you the best physical matchup for him. I fully agree with that. The qualm that I run into is it also makes your blitz packages and your run defense a little worse because you're removing L'Jarius Sneed from a blitzing position out of the slot, from the run fit out of the slot. Like, he's removed from everything else that isn't covering that single receiver. And so while the move in some plays, it's going to make sense because he's able to go out there, shadow their best receiver, give you the best blend of size, length, and athleticism, you're also losing a big blitzing threat and a big run fit threat that you have. That Trent McDuffie, I love as a player, he's just not L'Jarius Sneed against the run or as a blitzer right now when he's kicked into the slot. So it's really game plan dependent. And if it's this obvious of a tell for me after, 2 games, I guess, if you include the little bit of the Chargers game versus Mike Williams and then the Seahawks game, you bet other offenses are going to see this too and be like, okay, well, if the Chiefs don't have Sneed in the slot, they're going to be a little bit more vanilla in some of their coverage calls. There's going to be less rotation, less blitzing. I don't know if you can go into the playoffs and declare that blatantly like they kind of did against the Seahawks.
All right, who do you got, Bengals or Bills on Monday night? I don't care about it. The Chiefs-Broncos prediction. I mean, the Chiefs will win. We'll see what they'll have more points than the other team. But Bills and Broncos. What do you think? Or excuse me, Bills and Bengals. Sorry.
Chiefs will definitely win. It's hard. I'm personally like the Bills. I think they're still a fun team. I want them to win, but for my Chiefs fandom, like me as a Chiefs fan, knows it's better if the Bengals win. I think the Bengals win. I think that team's playing really well right now on the defensive side of the ball. Josh Allen's inconsistent. So I think the Bengals win a close one, but I will be torn between rooting for the Bengals to win so the Chiefs get the 1 seed and then also getting to root for Josh Allen, who is really fun to watch play football.
And we'll see what happens.
I just wanted you guys to know I started doing some research on the greatest water polo players in the world, just to do some pre-draft scouting for myself.
Yeah, thank you.
And I learned that one of the greatest current water polo players in the world's name is Filipovic. Philip, F-I-L-I-P, Filipovic, F-I-L-I-P-O-V-I-C.
Oh, that's easy.
Number 1 overall pick right there.
Do you have a 3-cone? That's all we need to know. What's the 3-cone?
I'll look on the 3-cone. Thanks again for joining us here with Jason Jasonson.
Matt Matterson.
Matt, you're the one syllable last name is why I didn't try to go Mattane. I don't know. It doesn't quite work.
Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, sir. Happy birthday to your wife, and also Happy New Year to you and yours. And happy birthday to your dad as well.
Well, thank you for all of that. You guys have a Happy New Year's. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. There's Matt Lane. Great stuff. KCSN.substack.com. Go check it out. And he's got the piece up there about the pass rush, and of course a lot of other things to talk about with this Chiefs team. Has it been common knowledge that I just missed, and I feel so stupid, that of the water polo and the hand-eye coordination, and why Karlaftis is at the top of the passes batted down at the line of scrimmage by a defensive lineman, not just a rookie, and the water polo hand-eye coordination, that a lot of part of your playing is the trying to deflect and stop passes at different arm angles when you're barely above the water?
Do you know Mahomes played baseball?
Is that real? Is that the Anthony Davis grew like 8 inches his senior year?
And he used to be a guard.
And he used to be a guard, right?
And now he's just hurt.
Here's your defense. I don't think you're alone on this. I hadn't really thought about it. And another guy who's great at it is Carlos Dunlap. So he kind of gets some. You know what Carlos Dunlap played in high school?
Water polo.
Football.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
They've been firm up front.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Just a quick segment here. We'll hear from the coordinators and assistant coaches. Text says, woohoo, share a birthday with Brisco. Happy late birthday, my guy. Watch every day on YouTube in Washington State.
Hello, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel your pain. Belated.
What I want to do and sprinkle in the rest of the show now are what are the local versions of the you hear it almost every broadcast and you just simply wait for the national broadcaster to bring up something that you know is going to be talked about. That is just okay, cool, here we go. Probably Mahomes' second year in the league, but first year as a starter, of the pictures of him playing baseball and the sidearm and all of the
baseball. His dad played baseball also?
His dad played baseball. There was a lot of that, waiting for that national storyline to take place with him.
This isn't as local, but we saw a lot of Brock Osweiler and a lot of Paxton Lynch football. Yes. They're both 6'7". That came up a lot. Ryan, do you know where Ryan Fitzpatrick went to college? He went to Harvard. Can you believe that? Also not really local, but that is the first one that I think of when you ask that question.
I joked about, the every single broadcast of Anthony Davis has grown 8 inches his senior year. There was always a picture of Willie Cauley-Stein playing football in high school and jumping up for a jump ball in the end zone, and the defender's like at his knee. It's like,
I've been watching Willie Cauley-Stein high school highlights here during the break.
In football, like that always came up
in
like
football.
in the first 15 minutes of a broadcast. Like I'm trying to think of like the local ones. I thought there were a couple like local. Like I know Missouri fans always used to wait for them to mispronounce Chase Daniel's name to Chase Daniels. Mm-hmm. Chase Daniel apostrophe S's name, or as it eventually became, Chance McDanielson.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because there was a Chance, then there was a Daniels, then there was a McDaniel, and then there was a Danielson. And I think it might have been Mr. Miyagi who was in the broadcast booth. But so you got to go with Chance McDanielson just to fully encompass all of the different variations of the name.
Did Antonio Gates play any other sports at any point growing up or anything?
I don't remember him doing anything at Kent State except for playing football.
I definitely can't remember him doing anything against the Chiefs, a couple times a game, twice a year for my entire childhood.
But that's only football.
That's in football, though. That's totally different.
And I only remember Tony Gonzalez playing football at Cal.
Football player through and through, I believe. I don't think we ever saw any highlights or uniforms or anything.
Like those were a couple. I feel like college is the one that comes up a lot. Because in NFL, I think people are pretty educated across the country with some of the NFL players and the storylines around them. Whereas college, if you're just tuning in, they always want to throw a blanket over everybody. Like, these two college fan bases are going to be watching. But we're trying to bring in other people. So let's tell this story about insert player here. Insert player name on this line.
Played water polo growing up. What?
This is all comes from Matt Lane saying that he connects water polo and the skill set playing water polo for George Karlaftis and what you're doing if you imagine somebody playing water polo as to why he's been so good at batting passes down at the line of scrimmage is why he is leading the league in that.
Jeff Withey played volleyball. Did you know that?
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
Great one.
Yes. Yes, that's a really, I love that one.
I also remember there being an Embiid playing handball one, but that one I'm less
No,
sure.
that was just when he wasn't called for fouls. Yeah. Sorry, that was dumb. They really should have gone more with Thomas Robinson and not Embiid, but you get the point, okay? You get the point.
I was going to let you have it.
You get the point. I want more of these. The Withey playing volleyball is awesome.
Text line, do your thing.
Yes.
Comment section, the
Comment
video
section,
feed. Let's
text
go.
line. Your local teams. What are the ones that was always a joke at the beginning of a game? It's like, okay, here we go. When are we going to hear about this? How long into the game are we going to hear about this? Because I've felt like I totally missed the Karlaftis thing, but I'm glad that I did not. That Matt Lane is just brilliant. That's what it is. We'll take a timeout. We'll hear from the Chiefs next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Here we are standing today, excuse my language, we're a couple of days away from kickoff. Man, that slipped.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll head out to Arrowhead Stadium. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo. We'll hear from Eric Bieniemy, and then Brendan Daly, Dave Merrick, Greg Lewis, and Matt Nagy. We'll hear from them. So no Dave Tobe.
Nobody screwed up this week. I mean, Tommy Townsend's punts weren't great, but it was cold out.
He did his 2 weeks worth of press conferences last week. It's like, you know what? I put in 2 weeks worth. I'm going to take the week off, all right? Because special teams did not take the week off. It was just fine. And I don't want to get up there and just say, oh, you like them holds? Yeah. Do you like apples? Well, how you like them apples and holds? Yeah.
The only thing there again would be like with a couple of Tommy's punts, he was clearly not happy with them. But strange things happen to the balls when it gets cold out. Like we know this.
Mm-hmm. Tech says Bill Self playing basketball at Oklahoma State every time KU and Oklahoma State play. That is true. Here's Steve Spagnuolo.
Ted's coming in real quick to give injuries. We'll do that real quick.
Yeah, let's have Ted. Yeah, let's do that. It's like old times, Ted.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, Prince is sick. Everyone else is going to work today, and I'm in trouble. Prince, he's sick.
Goodbye. You couldn't have been quicker than that. All right. I like playing with Ted. Ted's my guy. Got a heat wave out there today, huh? Feels great. You got shorts on. I might think about doing the same since we get outside here. Listen, well into Denver. Hope everybody had a happy holiday. I don't have much, as normal, I don't really have much to say. I'm going to let you guys roll with the questions.
What kind of went into the decision to ask Legarius to travel with
Yeah.
Decatur?
He did a good job, I really thought. And Dave and I and Donald really felt that. I mean, LJ's a competitor, and so isn't 14. And we felt like we needed to do that to kind of get us going. I thought he did a really good job all game. He got the one on the sideline, and we really, safety probably should have been over there a little bit sooner. Probably shouldn't even have had that one, and LJ had a contested one on him, a little shorter curl. But I thought the guys did a really good job as a group, making 14 for them a focus and making sure he didn't wreck the game on them, and I think they did a pretty good job.
You kind of resisted that in the past.
Not really. Not really. Oh, you mean flipping guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, part of that goes into, like, in years past, well, we've had Travarius and Breland outside, you know. I mean, it goes into who we have and what we feel like the matchups are. But I wouldn't say I've never resisted it. I mean, we've done it. And I thought it was a good week to do that, yeah.
What was it about this week that made it good to do that?
Well, when Lockett got hurt, you know, that gave him really the one main guy. So that was one of the bigger reasons. I'm not saying we wouldn't have done it anyway, but that was probably one of the main reasons.
How much did you need to see that maybe ahead of the postseason that can offer you an opportunity, because you have other receivers you're going to see? I know you could go week by week, but down the line when you enter the postseason, you could do this maybe against the Diggs and the
Well, we'll see. Yeah. Again, like even Denver this week's got two really good ones, you know, so you got to make a decision there. It's just all about the team that you're facing and what they have and what are the other matchups when you do that, what problems the offense presents with, do they move that guy around? Like last week, you know, 14 didn't move around very much. If you have a player that's the same caliber and they're always moving them, you kind of lose it doesn't, you know, you kind of lose that a little bit. But so there's always a lot of things that go into it.
Sorry about that. When you look at your coaching career, you've been around some very prolific and productive linebackers. Jeremiah Trotter in Philly, Laurinaitis in St. Louis, and now you've got Nick Bolton. Not asking you to compare them, but like, what are some of the similarities that you see?
Yeah, like Antonio Pierce is another one we had in New York. The first thing that jumps out is the football intelligence. The second thing that jumps out is the football instincts. In some ways, one and the same, but Nick has a tremendous feel for the game. There's a lot of times that it's drawn up a certain way going into the week, and when it changes on him really quick, he can adjust. The other thing he's really good at is in-game coming over and saying, you know, I think we should do this or maybe not do that because of this or because of what they're doing or what the quarterback's saying. That's valuable. And all those other guys that you're talking about used to do the same thing. It's huge.
What do you think's went into this late season production for George to finally get home a bunch of times? And it seems like he's
Yeah. I don't know if I have an answer or secret to that, except that I know that throughout the beginning when we didn't feel like he had, I mean, everybody looks at is sacks, right? And when it wasn't happening, Joe and I both felt that there were a number of times when he was almost right there, or he missed one because maybe he didn't sink his hips. Like I think there's a few in there that he missed that he could have had. And now I think he's learning that, and maybe the speed of the game, he's getting used to it, and he's getting confident. So I hope that continues. That helps us.
This is a pretty quick turnaround to play the same team again, but a lot of stuff has happened there.
Yeah.
Coach mentioned to us yesterday, you got to be ready for about anything because you don't really have a track record for what they're going to be like.
Yeah.
What sort of things are you preparing for with the Broncos this week?
Well, Coach is right. Sometimes it can make it a little bit more challenging because you don't know what the changes are going to be. You know, everybody needs a game to see what the new head coach is going to do. The coordinator not changing, you know, we're looking for some probably continuity there or some similarity between the last time we played him this time. But we just got to be ready for anything. I mean, in a lot of ways, we make it more about what we're doing and what we should do and how we should execute and making sure that from the chin to the hairline we execute things the way we need to do and then continue to play fast. I mean, I thought our guys played fast, tackled better. To me, that's as important as who you're playing. So whatever they throw at us in this particular week that we may not have seen because it is a new regime, so to speak, we got to be ready for it.
Steve, since Frank's been here, this appears to be the year the most that he's sort of been a mentor for somebody younger at his position, obviously with George.
Yeah.
I just wondered what you've learned about Frank, seeing him go through that, while also trying to obviously be a productive player himself.
Yeah, he takes that pretty seriously, I think, in kind of mentoring or, you know, at the point we're at in the season right now, being the veteran that's kind of been through it, what to expect, how we need to operate. He's been really good that way. He's been vocal that way. Joe tells me that he's been really good in the D-line meetings with that. Studying film, getting ready for this opponent. I know Frank has pointed out some things. Real valuable to have vets on your team that have been through what we're in the middle of and hopefully going to go through going forward. I think it's huge, especially when you have as many young guys as we do.
When you faced the Broncos 3 weeks ago, Russell Wilson rushed for a season high. Is that a big focus stopping him again this week?
Yeah, listen, he's still a quality quarterback in my opinion, and he hurt us with his feet a number of times. We can't allow that to happen. I think on most of those, the coverage on the back end was really good. He's smart enough to know he's going to get something with his feet, and he did that. I hope that doesn't happen again, but that has been a huge focus, yeah.
With Karlaftis, it seems like even go back to OTAs, getting his hands in the passing lane, batting passes.
Yeah, he's had a, yeah. I mean, I don't know where he is and all that, but I know he's had a bunch of them. There was one, I think it was this past game. There was one real early in a game. I think it was this game that if he doesn't do that, it was this past game. The coverage on the outside was a little loose. I think it would have been a first down. I thought he saved us on that. But good pass rushers not only put pressure on the quarterback, but they have a timing in their brain of when to put their hands up when they know the quarterback's going to release it. I think that's a natural thing, and George obviously has a good knack for that.
Coach, can you talk about the play for safeties? Justin Reed had a couple of big tackles in that game against Seattle, and then obviously Juan with the interceptions.
Yeah.
Those guys have been playing pretty well for the last
They have. They kind of, there's some continuity there. I think Justin and Juan are feeling better together. The whole secondary, the linebackers together. We're spending a little bit more extra time with the two groups together because I think that's important this time of the season. And unfortunately for Juan, you know, he had that other interception that got taken away. But, you know, LJ kind of got a little feisty on that. And it was legit. He was doing it the whole game, which was really good. And sometimes you miss and you get called. But, yeah, Juan and Justin, I thought did a nice job.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, good. Appreciate it. Yeah.
LJ got a little feisty on the interception by Juan Thornhill that was eventually called back. So a lot of questions about Karlaftis there and what he's done. L'Jarius Sneed traveling with DK Metcalf and why it was a strategy against the Seahawks and whether or not that will be something that they continue to implement game in and game out there from Spagnuolo, but all about teams and matchups and things like that. Also mentioning, do they move around? DK Metcalf really didn't move around a whole lot, so made it a little bit easier. Here's Eric Bieniemy.
All right. Good afternoon. Hopefully everyone had a beautiful Christmas. Hopefully everyone celebrated the holiday with a nice one, a special friend, family, or whoever. Feels good coming off a victory as well. I think our guys did a heck of a job of finding a way to finish the game. The thing that we're focused on right now is making sure that we're cleaning up all the little things moving forward. So fundamentally, we can play our best ball going into the playoffs. With that said, I'm all ears.
Coach, how valuable has Jarek McKinnon been to you this year and all he's done in recent weeks?
Jarek has been very valuable. Obviously, it's always good, especially, for Pat, when he's looking downfield to make that big play, and then if nothing's there, he has an opportunity to dump it off to Jarek. Jarek's doing a great job, not only as a receiver, he's doing a great job in pass protection, picking up the necessary blitz when they're coming. On top of that, he's doing a heck of a job in the run game. And then something that doesn't get talked about enough, and I know I keep discussing it, is his leadership. He provides outstanding leadership in that room to those guys. And he's just like having a coach, an additional coach on the field.
When y'all go back and watch the film, what's the reaction like when you see these pancake blocks that Trey Smith does, Creed? How do y'all react inside those rooms when you see that?
Well, I probably can't get too excited here right now and put it on full display, but I'm old school. Anytime you see something like that, you can't help but get excited. This game was created and played, that way a long time ago. And so when you see things like that taking place, you can't help but just get fired up and excited, and you're looking for the next one. I just think Trey has done a heck of a job. He plays hard, and he's always looking to find work. And, when you're putting that stuff on tape, it's making those other guys on the other side of the ball be very aware and making sure that they're staying on their toes.
What are your expectations for Hardman, assuming he plays Sunday after he's missed so much time?
The biggest thing with McCole is making sure that he's getting back in the groove. Obviously, with him participating in practice, we're not going to rush things. We just want to make sure that he's good. And then on top of that, we got to get him back in game shape and making sure that he can handle the necessary amount of workload that we want to give him. So, we're excited. Obviously, he's done a heck of a job, and we'll just keep it moving from there. We'll just take it day by day.
It's important to get just a little bit of work before the playoffs, right? For him, you don't want that first duty back to get the playoffs.
Well, yes, I always agree with that. But like I said, we just want to make sure that we're in sync and in rhythm with the training staff and making sure that we're not doing too much or too little, but just making sure we're doing just enough to get him ready where he's back and healthy and ready to go.
Do you guys think, obviously you've been here with Coach Reed the whole time. You've had basically two quarterbacks, and you look around the league and you see the issues the teams have trying to find quarterbacks, setting guys down and doing all this different stuff. You talk to colleagues around the league, are they jealous that you guys have got it pretty good with the quarterback position? Because it doesn't look like it's that easy everywhere else.
You know what, unfortunately, and this probably sounds bad, I don't talk to too many people during the season. I talk to the guys obviously here, and I talk to family members whenever I can. But, whatever's going on outside the building, obviously that's their own business. And I'm not trying to be, quote unquote, an asshole or anything. But the only thing I focus on, my focus is what's going on here and making sure that we're taking care of business today. And if we're taking care of business today, I know tomorrow we got a chance to give ourselves a chance on Sunday come game time.
Coach, I know this is probably your favorite time of year when we start talking about these types of things, but Coach Reed said that you had an opportunity to interact with owners in a casual standpoint this past offseason. How do you think, if you're willing to answer it, that may help as we get to this offseason where you might have another chance to become a head coach?
Well, first of all, I'll say this. I thought the league did a heck of a job with the accelerator program this spring, and it was great to have that opportunity to be a part of that. Obviously, it was a number of coaches and a number of personnel people, and it was a great experience. I thought it went well, but right now, that took place in the spring, and I'm where my feet are. The only thing I can control is today, and it's situational football day. It's third down day, so we got to make sure we get back on track.
Eric, with the coaching change in Denver, Andy was talking about kind of being ready for anything. What does that mean for you? You feel like there's going to be a whole lot that maybe that they do that you haven't seen before?
Well, I'll say this. Defensively, they've done a hell of a job all year long. And I know this past weekend, the score got out of hand, and sometimes that happens. But I do know this. They have good personnel on that side of the ball. They've done an outstanding job of coaching those guys up. So we're not taking our foot off the pedal just because they had a mishap this particular weekend. Regardless of what has taken place, we got to make sure that we're ready. And like I said, there's a lot of things that we need to work on. We got to make sure we're getting back to playing fundamentally sound football and making sure that we're converting on third downs and making the most of opportunities when presented. So I'm counting on the Denver Broncos to come out and play hard and play fast and to compete their ass off against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Coach Andy Reid said that he wanted to see all three phases playing well before you guys reach the playoffs. Is there anything specific that you want to see out of the offense when it comes to execution or out of your receivers, anything?
Put it this way, I want to see our O-line play a complete game up front, and I know it's not anything that's going to ever be perfect. I want to see the receivers go out there and play sound football, catch every pass, also participate in the run game and getting blocks downfield. I want to see the running backs taking care of the football, reading everything properly. I want to see Pat making all the particular reads and making sure his footwork is good in the pocket. So I want to see these guys play a complete game. I want them to be at their best because we know, do not get me wrong, the regular season is very, very important. We know once that season starts in a few weeks, okay, that notch goes up another notch. So we got to make sure that we're clicking on every phase that there is. And there's a lot for us to work on starting today.
Couple more. Last one, anyone? Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, there's Eric Bieniemy, and he does not want to be an AH. So what? He's not calling around different teams like, yeah, must suck that you guys have that quarterback situation going on. But you know, we got Mahomes over here.
You're starting Josh Dobbs tonight? Oh, that must suck.
But no, I do hope you had a good holidays. How was the wife? Is she good? Oh, how are the kids? Oh, that's fantastic. Dobbs, you must be so very mad. Here's Daly.
What do you think about your group so far and how they kind of worked their way through the year?
You know, it's been a really good group. I'm proud of the way they've played. They have continued to work, continued to get better. We got great people in that room. Feel really good about the depth that we've got and kind of the way some of the younger guys have developed and come along. But you know, we've got a long way to go and pretty good challenge for us this week against Denver.
Nick's first year with the sticker, you know, hearing all that stuff. Spags earlier in the year was like, no question at all, this is our guy to be able to do that. Any sort of hiccups at all along the way with that part, or he just seems to have jumped right in?
Yeah, I would say the exact opposite of hiccups. It's been, you know, not that there was a high level for improvement because he started out doing really well with it, to be honest. It's very natural for him. It doesn't faze him. He does an excellent job communicating. You know, even when we get thrown into, it hasn't been perfect by any means. You know, there's some challenging situations that offenses have put us in over the course of the year that have come up, but he's unfazed. He doesn't get rattled when those things come up. It's been really good and smooth, for sure.
Coach, on the subject of Nick Bolton, I'm going to take you back to your time in New England. You had a couple of prolific, productive linebackers there in Mayo and as well as Hightower.
Yeah.
What are some of the similarities between productive linebackers that you see and the way it translates with Nick?
Well, there's some common characteristics. I would say the first thing that stands out when you Mayo and Hightower, comparing them to Nick, like the football IQ is the thing that stands out. All of those guys operated at an extremely high level in terms of understanding the game, understanding the defense, understanding the nuances of calls and adjustments, and then also have great ability to communicate there. I would say that's the common thread with those guys, for sure. I would say, you know, the next element of it, Nick does a tremendous job in terms of his tackling. He's one of the best I've been around in that regard.
Given the amount of everything that you put on his plate, you know, during the offseason, has he done anything through 16 weeks to surprise you?
You know, I don't know if it's surprise, but I would say the more you're around him, the more impressed you are with him, both as a person and as a player. You know, it's stopped to become surprising, that's for sure. You know, it's unfortunately become a little bit of the expectation, which may be unfair to him, but he's established a pretty high standard in that regard. You he's still a young player. He's going to continue to get better. There's still things every day that he looks at. Yeah, I missed that. I should have done this, which is great to see.
Coming into the year, one thing Willie said that he wanted to do was lead the league in linebackers for interceptions. I know he was hurt by the suspension, but where have you seen him develop as these weeks have gone on as far as coverage goes?
He's done a really nice job, and I would say that's something that he has worked at for sure. In fact, he had a great practice just yesterday in terms of coverage. He had I thought Sunday's game. Who did we play? Seattle. It's been a long time ago in my world. But I thought that was one of his best coverage games, honestly, both in terms of man and zone. And, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism, man coverage in particular, that comes into play. But there's some details and some nuances and some leverage and some things that he's really worked to improve. And I would say his eyes in zone coverage, he's made a huge point of emphasis, and we've tried to work on. And I would say that's not, we haven't accomplished the objective in terms of being perfect in that regard, but we've made some strides there. He's done a really good job of working at it.
Right? Well, this is like a reach, but so when you were in New England, they were obviously in the middle of a long stretch of winning and sustainable success. The Chiefs have a chance to have a run like that now. From your time in New England and here, is there any sort of common threads, whether cultural or team building sort of philosophies that you observed that are similar in both franchises?
The one thing I would say that would stand out relative to that is nobody talks about that. And nobody on a day-to-day basis thinks about that. That it's there, and everyone knows it's there, but it's not something that you focus on, it's not something that's talked about. What you're focusing on is today, this week's opponent, We're worried about going out and having a good short yardage, goal line, third down work here today. And having the best game plan we can for Sunday's game against the Broncos. And if you do that week after week, it sounds cliche, but the results will take care of themselves. The wins and the losses will take care of themselves. So I would say that's the common theme. There's not a secret answer.
Sure. And like one part of that too is just like sort of dealing with the inherent turnover that there's going to be in season over season, no matter how good you are. Is there certain things that Coach Reed does in terms of like onboarding new players that might be similar at all?
Well, I think there's an emphasis to develop the young players and to get young players up to speed as quickly as possible. And when they show that they've got an aptitude for certain things, to put them in situations where they can perform and prove that they're capable of doing those things, for sure. And I think, Coach Reed does a nice job on the coaching side of that as well, in terms of trying to develop young coaches and, have guys that are ready to step into increased roles when opportunities present themselves.
On this week's game, the thing that got the Broncos back in the game a few weeks ago was the quarterback run.
Yep.
What's the responsibility level for your guys to kind of not allow that to happen this time?
Well, that's a good question, and it presents a huge challenge. Wilson does a great job of extending the downs. He, most of the time, is looking to get the ball down the field when he extends downs. And is capable of running with it, if you don't have the rush lane secured to where he's got an opportunity. I'd say it's multifold. The biggest one from a coverage standpoint is when the down gets extended and he starts moving, you got to get plaster responsibilities handled. Whether you're in man or zone, you got to get positive to your matches and stay tight on them for the remainder of the down. We had another couple of situations in that previous game that, we were in maybe a 5-man rush or a blitz, and we lost contain, or one of the lanes broke down, and you end up in a scramble situation, and playing off of each other and kind of regaining contain or control of the pocket is a pretty important thing with a guy like him, for sure.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Linebackers coach for the Chiefs. Talking about, this is going to surprise some people, linebackers.
Whoa!
I know, crazy. Dave Merritt's going to be up next. You know what he's going to talk about?
Linebackers?
Nope, that's not at all. Here's Dave Merritt.
Here and there, 4 or 5 wrinkles of trick plays. That's the only thing that we can be ready with. And playing with great eyes is going to allow us to hopefully combat that.
Dave, one of the themes of the season obviously has been the young defensive backs, and I wondered if you could just sort of speak to the State of the Union now, but kind of the arc of how it's gotten to where it is and what you've seen.
Yeah, when they all first came in, the thing is that I just wanted those guys to make sure they felt comfortable with understanding that although you may have a rookie behind your name or title, but you have to understand that right now when you're going against a guy in front of you, your technique is going to supersede whatever type of title that they put on you. So technically, throughout the entire season, our guys have every week have improved, trying to make sure they execute the techniques that we're asked. Now, when you're dealing with guys at this point in the season, I just went in yesterday again and spoke to the group and just let them know, hey, you're at a point in the season that you're not rookies any longer. I know Jay Reed probably mentioned something about that yesterday, but the guys have got to understand that it's a faceless opponent every time. There's certain guys that you want to take out, but technique-wise, you have to make sure you execute it, and hopefully throughout the season you continue to get better, and that's what they've done. Having Trent coming back after missing the first couple of weeks of the season has been big for us as well. Having Jay Watt and also Jay Williams going in and out playing the other corner position has allowed us to have a little flexibility and put them on a rotation. So, but having Trent and some of the other rookies like B. Cook stepping up, even Aziz Johnson on special teams, these guys have all improved as the season has gone on.
Exactly. We felt like. Go ahead. Have you felt like, obviously there's been some bumps and hiccups and fits and starts, but even within those moments, have you felt like, yeah, this is learning curve, this is
That's right.
exactly part of that?
It is, because when I first came here in 2019, I had Rashard Breeland, I had Shavarius Ward playing the corner position for me. Here are two guys, Shavarius Ward, free agent that we got from Dallas, came here and all of a sudden he became a starter. Rashard Breeland was a late draft pick. I think he was maybe 5th, 6th round or whatever it was. He became a starter. Those two guys played good football for us for a couple of years. They had to go through the same techniques and learning curves that the rookies are going through. So, right now at this point in time, you look at who we have, and we have these guys all playing a great amount of time on the field. The 4th down play, I look out there and I have rookie, Cook makes a 4th down stop, and you look at that and say, whoa, that's pretty good. And so if these young guys can continue to learn, which I think they will, it's going to help us in the long run.
When it comes to Williams and Watson and the rotation over these past 2 weeks, is it something where you guys are trying to identify one of these guys for the postseason, or do you anticipate, you like the way the rotation is going, we're going to see?
I like the way the rotation is going, because right now both of those guys have proven us right, as far as when we drafted them, we thought that both guys could become players for us. So again, when you look at Watson is a 6'2" kid who has long arms. His skill set is a little different than Williams, who's another 6'3" kid and has long arms. So both of them bring a little something different to the table. So depending on the team that we're playing, we may play one a little more than the other. But we've rotated both of them in there. They're both deserving, and we're going to continue to do it.
Adding on to that, Dave, with the rotation, obviously Watson's dealing with the hand. You guys haven't jammed as much recently in the past. I just wonder how much of that, with his situation, has allowed him to maybe focus on other things, and where have you seen sort of Joshua progress when you have asked him to press it?
You're correct as far as the hand. Once he injured the hand, he stopped jamming as much as he was before. And now the hand is actually much better, and the kid has used his hand a lot more the last 2 games. And so the progression for Watson was at the beginning of the season, very physical kid. He went against Mike Williams, which he had a rookie day. There was a lot of great balls thrown by the quarterback. But then later on, after he hurt his hand, we saw the slip off in the fall, even in practice, of not using the hand. So Joshua plays went up. Joshua Williams has been jamming receivers from training camp all the way through. And so, but they both have a skill set that they bring to the table that allows us to play both of them. So it's been good.
Let's go last two, Todd and Herbie.
George, we asked you about the young guys a lot, but we maybe don't ask you enough about Legarius.
Right.
He had a really nice job last week playing, basically just against DK the whole time. What have you seen from him this year to even elevate his game beyond this? Maybe I guess the surprise he was for you guys a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean he's more focused. I think the distractions probably outside of the building has simmered down, and the young man walks into the building with a notebook and pad and ready to go. He brings to the room questions that he may not have asked 2 years ago. So his ability to come in and has become a pro, or slowly and gradually over time, is where we see him right now in his 3rd year. And so I just think the distractions outside, he's done a great job of limiting that, and that's what the young guys have got to learn now. You come into this league, I mean, you're in Kansas City, Missouri for one reason, that is to play football. You're not here to be on Twitter. You're not here to start your record label. You have to understand you're here to play football. And a lot of guys get that misconstrued. And I coached up in New York for almost 18 years, 3 years with the Jets, on Long Island, 14 with the Giants. And that city calls you. New York City, Jay-Z had a song that came out, which is so true. I mean, the bright lights calls a lot of guys, and they think that they're there in the city to maybe do other things. But when you can bring them back to understanding why you're here and get them focused, then you'll see guys like LJ start to pop up. And that's what he's done. He's limited his distractions. He's done a great job.
On the subject of LJ, Coach Reed, Spags, even Justin Reed complimented the way that he was able to shadow these things like that. Going to your experience as a former NFL cornerback, how different does your mindset change preparations when you're told, hey, your sole purpose right now is to shadow this guy?
Yeah, what happens is when someone tells you early in the week that you're going to shadow this one particular player, your preparation, everything you do is heightened. You're looking at all stances splits. You're looking at things versus that one particular man, and you're looking at things that you're picking up that you wouldn't normally pick up if you're having to play multiple guys. And so I think that's what has happened is once you know that you have a Kelsey, you study his mannerisms, you study his route concepts, you study the whole year. And so when we have a guy that's shattering a guy like a Metcalf, LJ did a great job of looking at the tape and going back early in the season, what works, what doesn't work, and how many twos can I bring. You got to have at least more than one or two twos in your tool belt. And LJ, I think, used 3 different techniques on a young man and did a great job.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, there's defensive backs coach Dave Merritt, along with Brendan Daly, linebackers coach before him, and still going to hear from Greg Lewis, running backs coach, a little more on Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon, maybe Ronald Jones, maybe is Clyde Edwards-Helaire close, and then we'll also hear from Matt Nagy, senior offensive assistant and quarterbacks coach for the Chiefs. So
it was interesting yesterday. Andy Reid sounded very pessimistic about Clyde's return.
Yeah. Here is Greg Lewis.
Greg, with Isaiah's progress and Jerick doing what he's doing, how much do you feel like this dimension of the offense is really what you want to see right now?
Well, I think Jerick is doing a great job. He's been a professional throughout the time here and really in the NFL, and the opportunity that he's been presented, he's taken advantage of those opportunities, so I'm excited for him moving forward. And Pop has done a tremendous job of leaning on Jerick and Bert and Clyde and Melvin, Rojo, just getting that professionalism and understanding different things about how to be a professional running back, what it's going to take for you to be successful, and then taking all that information in and going out and putting it to work when he gets those opportunities. I think they got a good rhythm going with those two guys right now, and when everybody else is available and we get opportunities to get other guys in there, I think it'll be a seamless transition with guys as we go.
Greg, how pleased are you that Jerick is known for his pass catching ability, yet he has the game-winning touchdown run against the Texans, and Pacheco's known for his downhill running style, and yet you guys are now starting to sprinkle in more, receptions to him. The fact that they can both be sort of there's duality with both of them.
Well, it's funny that you say that, the duality of both of them being able to do both things. My wife and I, we talked about it when I took the position of running back coach. Well, I'm naturally a receiver, and bringing that part of my game and knowledge and information to the running back room where these guys already understand how to run, and then I have EB to lean on who played the position, and meshing that together and getting a total package with everybody. And that's why I say for us as running backs here, we have to be multifaceted. We got to be able to do everything because that gives you an opportunity to be successful and help this team in any way we can, whether it's be pass pro, whether it be catching passes, whether it be running. We have to be able to do everything, and that's what I try to pride myself on of getting across to those guys, and they absorb all of it, and they try to go out there and do it.
It's been easy to see that Pacheco's way more comfortable now than he was at the beginning of the season. That's natural for a rookie. What little things have you seen maybe at practice behind the scenes that show you, okay, maybe the game is really slowing down for him?
Well, the game itself, he understood the game like you said, but it's just the patience of different things and how to understand and how to set up blocks and understand where the blocking scheme is supposed to be going, and then utilizing your skill set from there. Early on, obviously, you're coming to something new. That's with any job. You don't know everything about it, and you try to build off that and try to understand it. And now he's grasping everything, and now you're able to see his skill set take advantage of opportunities when he does get those.
With Isaiah, now we're almost at the end of the regular season. He's a rookie. They talk about the rookie wall, all that, stepping up in competition. What have you seen from him to grind through this really harder part of the year for rookies?
I'm not a big rookie wall believer type deal. This is professional football. This is your job. You come up here and you go to work. And he's been playing football as all the other rookies have too their whole life. So they probably played more football before they came here than they are with the 17 games just out after practice or doing stuff. Like they just keep playing because they're young and all that type of stuff. So he's playing hard and he's going to continue to play hard. I don't buy into or I don't push that on guys as far, man, make sure you're doing this, that, and the other because the rookie wall is going to hit you. No, come up here to work, man, and get your job done, and everything will be where it needs to be for you.
Couple more.
With Clyde at this point, what's he been like for y'all in the meeting room and trying to get himself back healthy?
Clyde has been awesome. He's been awesome. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not in the training room doing things. Our staff does a good job with him there. And in the meeting rooms, he's the same self, taking notes, diligent with things, understanding what's going on. And whenever the opportunity presents itself for him to be back, whatever that may be, then he'll be ready to go.
Anybody else? Last one? Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Don't bring that rookie wall stuff to Greg Lewis. There's no rookie wall, and if there was, Pacheco would try to run through it.
Pretty much what I was going to say, so 1-1 there.
Beat you.
Isaiah Pacheco running through the rookie wall.
Well, what if he ran through a Wookiee wall?
Went through a Wookiee wall. Nice. You got a Star Wars reference. Batting 500 on Star Wars references today. See if I can come up with a third one. Boy, there's Beards, you want to just go ahead and grab that liner for next segment? There's a whole story to one of those. It was some good stuff. I can't tell you too much about it because it'll spoil the surprise.
Can we hear what Matt Nagy's going to tell us about?
I'd love that.
Let's hear it.
Talking about something he's just said before, but I guess the question is, isn't that sort of important that he is always recalibrating and it suggests more advancement, more sophistication as he goes along?
Yeah, it does. I think that's a strength of his because sometimes you can get lost in however you're playing for X amount of weeks. And I look at him and I think when I look back at this year so far of what we've been through, growing as a quarterback room, as an offense, as a team, one of the more impressive things with Patrick is the fact that he does just that. I feel like every Monday when he comes back in, he goes through and he goes and tries to validate what he thought happened on Sunday with the film, and seeing what he sees. But then he resets immediately and he forgets, good or bad. And that's the resetting part to me with somebody that's playing as well as he's playing and holds himself and knows we hold him to high standards. He comes off a game, for instance, against these guys last time, and we're in a good position, and situationally we go back-to-back interceptions in the first half and they score 2 touchdowns off of that. No one is more frustrated at that moment in those throws more than him. And, so for him he just kind of puts that in the back pocket, and now he's got to use that moving forward, whatever it is, the next game, the next play, the next time we play them. And he does a great job at doing all that, but the resetting part's big.
And in a bigger picture sense, should that line, as he progresses through his career, is it sort of the line should always be changing? It's not like the line is always going to be, I shouldn't push it here, I shouldn't push it there. It's always growing.
It's fluid, yeah. It's moving, it's fluid. And there's different parts of the game. I mean, whether it's something that maybe the outsiders don't see as much with a protection call, or something that he sees within the game that might be a little bit more internal for us, that he's growing in that way. Or it might be something bigger where you see, hey, threw an interception, and it wasn't a good decision. It wasn't a good throw. Or he goes and he scrambles on a third down and makes an unbelievable, spectacular play and does a no-look for a 50-plus yard touchdown pass. So all of that, I think, with the great quarterbacks, the ones that do it consistently over time, that bar is always changing. It's always moving. It is fluid.
Matt, as the season's gone on, have there been times where he's done something, whether it's in a game, a practice, or in a meeting, where you said, you know what, he wasn't advanced. The last time I coached him, he wasn't this advanced. He maybe couldn't have done this.
Yeah, that's a great question. With me being there with him his rookie year to where he's at now, it's so far advanced to where it was just that year. So there's a lot more of that. For me, it's been more so, Adam, of seeing him just go from this year, the growth he's had this year of certain plays. And I think sometimes, players like him that are so naturally gifted and talented and can make different throws from different arm angles, don't have to have their feet set all the time, see something before it happens. Sometimes you can get away from some of your standard fundamentals. And the thing with Pat is, and it starts with Coach Reed, is, we really stress that to him, and he wants that to be stressed. Hey, stay within the timing of the play with your feet. As simple as that sounds, sometimes you get off of that, and before you know it, your timing is off, and now it's not matching with the wideouts. And there's been a couple games where he's come to the sideline within the game and said, my timing's off, my feet are off, I got to get back to that. I got to get back to 1, 2, 3 in progression and not just 1, 2 run. And that right there is growth in itself, because when you're a young player as a rookie, you're just trying to call the play the right way. And for me, sometimes, I look at what he's done now. I listen to him in practice call play when you can actually hear it. In the game, you don't hear it, but in practice, you can hear him call play. I mean, that's sometimes the hardest thing for some quarterbacks to do, is to call a play. For him, that's like second nature. It's simple. It wasn't like that as a rookie. Well, sometimes we take that for granted because we have some unique formations, motion shifts, plays, etc. Well, that's just the beginning of the play. I mean, you got to get up and you got to do everything else at the line of scrimmage, and then, oh, by the way, you got to make a play. He's grown so much in this time, and he's grown just so much this year too.
We talk to you about once a month, and every time kind of ask you about a crazy play you've seen, and you mentioned the little no-looker last time. At this point of the year, I mean, how many things has he done this year that is it list 10, 12, whatever?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I mean, the ones that really jump out is the one in Tampa when he scrambled and had the play in Tampa, and then this one in Denver. Those are the two that completely jump out, because there's maybe one or two other people, I don't know, maybe one other person that can do that, maybe nobody. And when you have that happen, you can only sit back and chuckle and just say, well, that was a pretty good play, and we became really good coaches on that play. So Coach even chuckled in the middle of that right afterwards, and he said, well, that goes in the reel. I mean, it does. It's one of those deals. You don't really coach that.
You were in Philly before, and you were here, and the whole time you were here, you either had Alex or Patrick.
Yeah.
You were in Chicago, had different quarterbacks. I mean, great quarterbacks make great coaches, right? I mean, that's kind of how that goes. You look around the league and you see all the troubles other teams are having. How fortunate do you guys feel to have someone who's so rock solid in the meeting rooms and all that, and can do those things on the field?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've been really blessed to be around so many great I go back to when I first was brought into the league with Coach Reed in Philadelphia, and just being around Donovan McNabb and those guys from in Philadelphia, and then coming here and being with Alex, and then going to Chicago and having the different quarterbacks that we had there. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, and in the end, I think as you see in this league, it's very, very important to have a guy that can do great things behind the center, and they're all different. They all have their strengths, but we as coaches appreciate the ones that are able to do it. And I think we all know it's stating the obvious with Patrick. What's scary with Patrick is that he's so young, and he's doing this at such a young age.
And just in that repertoire of Patrick's, the touchdown run the other day, getting fully parallel to the ground, it's a different kind of mindset to do that than to make the pass, right? I mean, what's it take for a guy to be able to do that too?
Number one, to trust your speed. He jokes all the time about his boosties, and he talks about when he has to put his boosties on, and he had his boosties on that play, and just so happened to be going against the Texas Tech Raider one-on-one. So I'm sure we heard about that for a little bit, but there's a lot that goes into that play. I mean, how many times do you see somebody, number one, make the extension of the play with his legs, but then brace himself with his left arm, not hurt himself, but then number two, to come with the right hand and keep the ball in slick weather, cold weather, hold that ball into the pylon. A lot of people teach not to do that because you can have a touchback. He did it all, and those are plays. Again, that was a third down. He made a play. He scrambled. That's a part of his game that I think sometimes goes unnoticed, is what he can do extending plays with his legs, and we got 6 points from it.
Last one, Nick.
Bit of a curveball, coach, but Travis has been here the longest.
Yeah.
Offense. Obviously, he was here when you were last year. How much do you lean on Travis and his experience in the quarterback room? How often is he in the quarterback meeting room just to offer maybe a unique or a different perspective?
Well, I would say this. Again, just like Patrick, I was fortunate enough to be here when Kels came in here as a rookie, and just to see, very similar to Patrick with more years, how every day he's trying to make his craft better and better, and how he does it. And he gives, if he sees a particular route that we put in and he wants to do something a little bit to it to make it his way, he's earned that right, I think, over time, and he'll voice that. And him and Pat just need to be on the same page on how they do it. He's been phenomenal. I think it just sometimes, again, with Patrick, you can sometimes take it for granted. You want to be careful because he's been doing this a long time. He makes so many special plays. His route running is just crazy. I mean, there's other players, teams in this league that try to emulate what he does. It's just hard because he has a natural knack to get open. But his growth has been amazing, and his partnership and relationship with Patrick, it's hard to stop when you get two guys that are thinking the same way.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Where do you get those boosties?
What was the boosties? Was he still talking?
There's some more boosties.
Let's keep him going. Thank you. See you.
All right,
The
more
boosties.
talk.
The boosties. He's got his
Almost had to
boosties.
Turn on the boosties.
He's just fast enough. Are you fast? Fast enough.
It's faster than the person chasing him.
Just faster than the person chasing him. And according to, is it Bobby that put out the metrics that somehow he's 103% of his straight line speed when he goes sort of at an angle? He actually is 3% faster running at an angle, which, by the way, kind of looks like that to the naked eye.
Totally does.
When he's
Totally
running straight
does.
ahead, it looks like he's laboring. But when he's outrunning somebody to the sideline, he's always going to get there. Almost always gets there, just beats him, and looks faster. I don't know what that is, but hey, his trainer, the one that puts that out there, that certainly is believable. Also part of it's amazing some of the things that you see with that guy, that just fast enough, just good enough, just improvisational enough, just creative enough, to the point that even Andy Reid and Matt Nagy sit back and go, oh, a little hook pass to Jarek Mathis. Go ahead and add that to the highlight reel.
Good coaching by us.
How about that?
Good work by us, letting Pat cook.
Yep, that's right. You see that pull-up three in transition that guy hit?
Yeah.
I'm a good coach.
What a good coach.
Good coach. Drew that one up.
Installed those boosties myself.
So go down there and hit that shot. Boosties. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I'm just being a smartass.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 912-4810 is the text line. We'll play a little sports or leisure coming up at 1 o'clock. You know, we were talking about the different things locally that when you watch your games, your team play, that the national broadcaster is going to bring up that you just know, like, oh, here it is. Hey, you know what? Did you know that Patrick Mahomes played baseball in high school and his dad played baseball? You know, he grew up around clubhouses, all that stuff. Jeff Withey playing volleyball. That was brought up by Beards. This one is a good one. So as a diehard Kansas State fan, love Coach Snyder, what he did for the program university, but every game they always say Coach Kleiman, following in Coach Snyder's footsteps. He said, like we don't know Snyder was there. That is true. I mean, it feels like almost every game there's a Chris Kleiman, and hey, look what Bill Snyder did, and now Chris Kleiman is sort of taking the baton, and it's 3 years later, but taking the baton and becoming this, look at the culture and everything. There's so many similarities with Bill Snyder. Yeah, that is true. Almost every game there's a Bill Snyder, Chris Kleiman comparison nationally.
All he's got to do now for Kleiman is coach there for another 85 years, and he really could be the next Bill Snyder.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while since we've gotten the Andy Reid punt pass kick thing. I think that's more like a national broadcast thing.
True. You know,
like that's a primetime game thing.
You know, that was.
Did they show it? Hold on. Did they not show it during Chiefs-Rams? They had to show it during Chiefs-Rams.
I don't remember seeing it.
He's wearing a Rams helmet. It's in L.A.
I remember it being something that was brought up a decent amount in the Patrick Mahomes beginning run playoffs, 18 and 19.
Definitely.
And especially at Media Day when the guy in Miami, when he was walking around in the Reed full-on jersey, helmet, shoulder pads.
Typo and everything.
Yeah. Yep. Tex says...
that's a good one, Beards.
This is a good one, too. Tex says, how long are we going to get the Chiefs traded Hill?
It's like a year thing.
Yeah.
It's like you get 1 year.
But that is true.
It's going to come up again next year, too. I mean, it's going to be, still looking for a replacement for speedster Tyreek Hill, who they traded away last
The wide
offseason.
receiving core for this Chiefs team and Patrick Mahomes, what he has done this year in an MVP season, Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the game, no Tyreek Hill. It's taken some getting used to for this Chiefs offense and Patrick Mahomes, or you thought it would. But right from game number one, they have acclimated quickly.
That's going to be interesting because I think there are going to be conversations where that has relevance. Probably not during your regular broadcast, though. So I think that one does qualify.
Yeah, but it is something that's brought up
constantly, and that will continue.
Yeah. So we got into this and trying to think of all the different ones because we were talking with Matt Lane in the 11 o'clock hour, and we were talking about George Karlaftis batting passes down at the line of scrimmage, and Matt Lane very smartly and astutely pointed out that those skill set translations from water polo where your upper body being out of the water, and that's what you're doing a lot of your work in blocking the ball, throwing the ball, the hand-eye coordination, following that. That was a really good point, and I thought, is this something that everybody has known and talked about for a couple of years, and I'm just or for 9 months, and I'm just an idiot that hasn't, caught on to it? But no, I was like, oh no, that's a good point by Matt Lane. Hadn't really connected that. So I'm not, sitting out here wondering, hey man, why is nobody talking about Patrick Mahomes throwing sidearm and taking that sort of translation from his baseball playing days? It's ridiculous.
This isn't really local, but like anytime, maybe there is a local example, but anytime a player switched positions in college or was recruited as a wide receiver, Travis Kelce played some quarterback in high school.
That's a good one. Kelce playing quarterback. That's right. That's a really good one. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back and talk about who's not playing quarterback for the Raiders next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, what'd you learn this weekend, Brisco?
Or in the beards as a bleep head.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
That's a great point. Sales extraordinaire Sandy Cohen in here, just saying, hey guys, Happy New Year. Said, Happy New Year, man. See you next week. I said, man, I could have said see you next year. And you brought up a great point, Josh.
You could have. You're a dad.
Yeah.
You've earned that.
That's right.
If you have a child in this world,
I can tell people, hey, see you next year, man.
Gotta remember to do that tomorrow. If you don't say that to me tomorrow.
Tell Matt Derrick.
Yes.
Kendall Gammon should have said that to Matt
Lane.
Mick, talk to you next year.
I bet Mick will hate that.
He will be
I
so
bet
mad
it will
about
piss Mick off genuinely.
What?
Or maybe he's a big happy see you next year guy. I don't know.
What annoys Mick more? If it's somebody that says, hey, see you next year, or Kansas City only being talked about for barbecue. Because he hates that.
Yeah.
He thinks there should be more fountain talk.
Yeah, he also, I know that he wishes that Kansas City was acknowledged as the seafood hub of the world, which it is.
I don't think that's true.
I know he's a big seafood guy.
So we can have a longer conversation in this, but the show sort of got away from us because I did want to talk extend.
A lot of college, a lot of coaches.
I know, but
a lot of show.
Is Derek Carr a quitter?
You could have given me 15 chances at what your on-ramp to this topic was going to be, and I would have struck out 15 times.
Anthony Sherman and Garrick Dieter. This morning, Nate Bukaty asked Anthony, "What's your reaction to this whole thing?" He said, "Derek Carr's a quitter." And then Garrick Dieter's like, "Yeah, he's a quitter." That's how NFL players feel.
Yeah.
Without knowing the intricacies and the ins and outs of everything, but what would happen behind the scenes to where you would come to an agreement that the face of the Raiders franchise for how long is then going, no, I'm going to step away for the last 2 games of the season. I don't want to be a distraction. Not, I can help out Jarrett Stidham. I can be a professional. I can be around the team. I can do those things. Other players have lost their jobs, so why can't I do these things as well? Matt Ryan's had to sit back and watch, and he's not even been a Colts player that long. Is it that he's been a Raiders player that long and he's the face of the franchise that he's like, you know what, I'm taking my ball and going home? Because even if the coaches, Josh, say, hey, it might be best for you to step away for the last couple of weeks, bleep you, this is my team. No, I'm staying here, and I'm going to see if we can win these last couple of games. I don't know. The whole thing is odd, but I've heard 2 NFL players that are no longer wearing a uniform, so they aren't bound by the code of the player fraternity that said, yeah, that guy's a quitter.
My understanding and the meager pushback that I would offer, my understanding
You're
on
push
all of
back
this,
to Anthony Sherman and Garrick Dieter?
Not physically,
okay.
But with the benefit of a couple hours of space and not having to arm wrestle either of them, it seems to me like this is really an instance of the Raiders putting a bat signal in the air that says, Derek Carr, we just don't want you here anymore. They may as well have, not literally, of course, because of lots of logistical things, they may as well have cut or traded him yesterday. I mean, it is over, and if it would surprise me if that was Derek Carr's decision first, and if that was his suggestion. Hey, what if I just step away for a couple days? If that is the case, then I actually do think it kind of reflects a little bit poorly, where even with a season of offensive total ineptitude, what seems like a really dysfunctional group, starting with Josh McDaniels, I am generally siding with Derek Carr on this little custody battle of the Raiders franchise. Maybe neither of them really want it, but this to me looks much more like organizational dysfunction than it looks like Derek Carr quitting. And if it's Derek Carr quitting on a dysfunctional organization, maybe he's even earned that right a little bit because he has been there to take every bullet for a long time.
There's going to be a whole lot more reporting on this.
Yes.
And we'll find out all the ins and outs of what took place behind the scenes and conversations and whose idea it was. And if Derek Carr fought back and they sort of were like, no, here's the edict. You're actually not allowed to be around anymore. You just go away. Which would be, again, really odd. Because we're talking about a guy in Derek Carr who was crying after a game.
That's right.
Because they didn't believe in the coach. Because the players in the locker room weren't doing what they should be doing to believe in the guy that's leading us. And then a few weeks later, that guy's saying, I don't want you around for the last 2 weeks because you'll be a distraction to Jarrett Stidham.
In games we're not trying to win anyway, because if we were, you'd still be playing.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe we're actually not trying to tank. That's why we're benching him. Right. That's how we are trying to, win these games. Remember when it was Was it Doug Peterson? Was it Jalen Hurts that he was playing? And it was like, wow, he's trying to tank because he's playing. Or who? Wasn't it like at the Doug Peter and then he get fired? It was like this quarterback controversy, like he's not playing Wentz, and then he played. You're playing this guy who's
by a smidge, I think.
You're playing this guy who's the second round's not even like a backup guy.
I think I remember that. I do think I remember
and
that.
Doug Peterson, and now Jalen Hurts is, was an MVP candidate.
Also, it's a good thing the Raiders traded for Devontae Adams.
Does Adams have to choose which parent he goes with? Like, does he stay with the Raiders or does he follow Derek Carr?
He should have that. He should have that opportunity. I like that idea.
How much do you think Devontae Adams was aware that, hey, this is a possibility? You only play 1 year with Derek Carr, and maybe it was.
I knew that was a possibility, so he should have.
You know what? Even if it's only 1 year, I get to play with him. I want to play with him for 1 year in the NFL, and it ain't working here in the Green Bay. I'm done. Raiders are going to pay me. I get to live in Vegas, closer to Fresno. Play with my best friend. If it works out, we stay together a while. If not, I still did that. He can't be shocked by this.
No, but it's been really bad.
Yeah.
This team is a mess, which is so weird because usually the Raiders, never mind.
Yeah. But the Broncos have it figured out, though.
Hey, this is the fact. sponsor, In-House Market.
WHB Kansas City. You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, 913-381-0810 is the phone number. 913-381-0810, playing a little sports or leisure, $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We are giving away, well, giving away if you win. Not just giving away, we're not just throwing it off the balcony here. Giving it away if you can get a sports and a leisure question right in a game we call appropriately named Sports or Leisure. All right, 913-381-0810. Here are the categories. Well, you know what? Let's tell you how to play. Real quick, in case you didn't know.
So you
give us a
call
call.
in.
Yep, 913-381-0810. That's the phone number.
913-381-0810. Okay,
there you
got
go.
it.
You'll get a sports question.
Okay.
You'll get a leisure question.
Got it.
You get them both right, you win.
Okay.
Either of them wrong, you lose. Sorry, you're out. But that question is out there available for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to it, if they've Googled it, whatever.
So if you say a question that I don't think I know the answer to, but somebody else called in and got wrong, I can call in and ask for that question.
That's right. You see, we don't give out the answer to the question until somebody actually gets it right, or we have run out of time to play.
Curious.
Yeah, so that's just typically how we do it around here. So it's called Sports or Leisure, but you get a sports and a leisure question. Let's go through the categories here if we can. On the sports side, we've got general NFL. We have a few Chiefs-Broncos questions, players that have played for both the Chiefs and the Broncos. And we have the number 25 category, the players who wore number 25 in their career in Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA. So you can, if you pick number 25, the jerseys, you can tell me which sport you would like to go with, and I'll give you a question of a player that wore number 25 in that particular sport. Those are the categories: NFL, Chiefs and Broncos, and number 25. What about on the leisure side, Josh?
On the leisure side, we've got Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Nope. Which are questions that presumably fifth graders could get asked on their tests. All I Want for Christmas is Clues. We're in the Christmas spirit still. A lot of Christmas movies. Not all Christmas movies. Most of these at this point are about Christmas movies. We have the Spelling Bee, commonly misspelled words. You can call in and try to spell those. And we have the Pun Name Game. It's a combination usually of two names that makes one, sort of like Noah Gray's Anatomy. That was one from several weeks ago.
Kind of like a pun.
Sort of like a pun, sort of with names, but there's kind of like a game to it because I give you like a clue and then you bring it together. So that's why it's the Pun Name Game.
Yeah, ironically named. This text comes in. It's a good one. It said about Derek Carr. They're saving him for a trade. They informed him he won't be back. They decided to let him step away instead of looking like a sad emo band lead singer on the sideline the next 2 weeks.
I think that's more or less what happened. Yeah. Good
be.
text.
I just like the looking like a sad emo band lead singer on the sideline. Yeah.
He looks sort of like Sid from Toy Story all grown up. That one also really gets me every time. Yeah. Think about that next time you see Derek Carr looking sad.
I'll never think about anything else.
It's been living rent-free in my head for several years now.
It's like what I've always said. Once I tell you this, you'll never not see it.
Oh,
you
God.
Ready?
No.
Ready for this?
Hold on. Let me really get a good stance.
Ready for this, Beards?
Yeah, let's
hear it. It's a good one for you, too.
Yeah, I'm good.
Draymond Green shoots threes like he's wearing a backpack.
Oh, no. I like that one.
You'll never not see it.
No,
now.
I like that one a lot. Like
every
you're trying
time,
to keep the straps kind of around
every time, and you know you've got the weight in the back there that's kind of throwing you off. Every time he shoots a three, you're going to look and imagine he's wearing a backpack.
All right, I welcome that one. That one sounds funny to me, so I look forward to just superimposing that mentally.
All right, 913-381-0810. I'm ready to play. Josh, you were good to go?
Backpack on, ready to go.
Beards?
I'm good.
All right. Let's go to leading us off is Avery on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a little sports or leisure. Avery, what side would you like to start with?
Hey, did you guys know that if Keith Langford was having a bad first half, you would actually change his shoes at halftime?
There you go. That's a good one.
Never heard that.
That's a good one.
Oh,
I like
my
that
God.
one.
Like his last 3 years at KU, every single game
That's
they would mention that.
I like that one. Yes. See, we want more of these.
More of those, please. Yeah.
I feel like, we try to think of them, but, it's not really our job.
No.
This is where the texters and the commenters have really let us down today.
Gotta get some more.
Really let us down on that. But thank you, Avery, for coming through.
Thanks for the call, Avery. We'll talk to you again next week.
Appreciate it, man. Let's go next.
Sports
or leisure.
What do you want to start with, dude? Sports or leisure?
I'll do a pun name game.
All right, coming out hot with the pun name game. Do you want the one that would make Mick Schaefer unhappy, or do you want the best one? You're a vet. You're a veteran. I'm gonna say fair warning. I do not think this one passes the Mick Schaefer test, but I like it, so I trust you, Avery, with the steering wheel on this one.
All right, let's do it.
Kansas's quarterback was method acting as a Heisman candidate in the Jayhawks Liberty Bowl comeback. At first, I thought there will be blood. Then KU's offense felt like it was tripping over my left foot. And from the gangs of New York to Lincoln, Nebraska, this quarterback's performance had it all.
Jalen Daniels, Day Lewis.
That's it. You got it. Jalen Daniels, Day Lewis. There's an extra S in there, but
no, that does not pass the pun name game.
Yeah, unless Johnny's gets in and tells me that it doesn't count anymore, I'm going to go ahead and count it for you, Avery.
Well, you also couldn't do Johnny's and then start with something named Johnny in the next one. That would also not work.
I knew this one was going to be controversial. I knew Avery would be here for the moment. This is more or less how I thought this would go.
This fantastic sports bar that you can get $25 to playing sports or leisure, who also would play the antagonist in Karate Kid. Johnny's Lawrence.
Okay. Well, that's actually a location, so that would work. You go to
Yeah,
Johnny's
I'm
Lawrence.
going to a Johnny's Lawrence later.
Damn it. You could have picked any other Johnny, and
I know.
that might have worked out. But in this case, actually just turned into a cross promo.
I don't know why Johnny Lawrence was the first one that popped into my head of all of the Johnnies out there.
Yeah, I'm glad
so.
because it works.
All right, on to the sports side. Avery, what are you thinking?
Let's try an NFL 25.
NFL number 25 for you. Okay. There was a changing of position, but the number staying the same. These two safeties both played next to Jerome Woods, but never at the same time. One playing his first 3 years in the NFL before heading to first 3 years in the NFL with the Chiefs before heading to Seattle. The other being drafted and taking his spot the year after he left, also wearing number 25. Name either of those players, those safeties.
Reggie Tongue.
Name both of those players.
Lowered the bar, Jason.
Was the other one Greg Wesley?
Name all three.
Wow,
Name
Greg Wesley.
All three of those players. Just some random person after. You know what? Johnny Lawrence is the third one.
Yeah, that's incredible. We're number 25.
Yes, you can go to Johnny's in Lawrence if you want to, or any of the other Johnny's
Greg Wesley, love
locations.
that.
Avery will put you on hold. Congrats. Well done, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Nice job.
I haven't thought about Greg Wesley in a minute.
Yeah.
Just a nice trip down memory lane. I just enjoy remembering early 2000s Chiefs.
I was writing these questions last week because we had them, the Thursday before Christmas. And then later on that afternoon, they were playing Stump the Chumps. And one of the questions that Curtis asked was players that had played for both the Chiefs and the Seahawks. But I didn't do a Chiefs and Seahawks one last week. I did number 25. And the whole time, I'm naming different names, and I'm like, nobody's getting Reggie Tongue? How's nobody get? The only reason I did it because number 25, Reggie Tongue, and then he went to Seattle. I was like, I was writing it. I'm like, what are the odds he played with Seattle? And Seattle, they're playing Seattle this week. Reggie Tongue. How do you guys not know who Reggie Tongue is?
How do you not
Lebo,
remember Reggie Tongue?
Shane, get your tongue out of your.
Totally shameful.
913-381-1010. Couple open phone lines. First in, first on. Let's go to Charles next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
You took the NFL one for 25. I'm not feeling good about that anymore.
There's a few others.
More NFL 25?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Yep. There's a few NFL 25s. There's a couple NBA 25s. There's an MLB 25. There's some Chiefs and Broncos, some NFL, and, leisure, too.
I'll go with 25 for baseball.
25 baseball, okay. This Cuban-American and All-American at Mississippi State played 20 years in the majors for 5 different teams, one of the best hitters of his generation. He recorded his 3,000th hit, followed by receiving a 10-game suspension for PEDs. Should have been a surefire Hall of Famer, but he was embroiled in the steroid scandal. But know this, he'll point his finger directly at you and emphatically say, I wore number 25.
Ooh. PEDs. I know Bond's 25, but he didn't get busted.
Cuban-American, All-American at Mississippi State. Finger pointing in your direction.
Oh, I see him. Was Palmero 25?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You tell me. Was he?
I'm gonna go with. That's all that's coming to my mind because all I can think is Barry Bonds and Ricky Henderson and Rafael Palmeiro. So I'm gonna go with Palmeiro.
Rafael Palmeiro is the right answer. We're number 25.
okay.
Remember in front of Congress when he pointed his fingers and said, "I have never
Yes.
done PEDs."
Yes. That
or
worked out for him,
something
I
like "know this" or whatever, something like that. It wasn't a "read my lips." He didn't go George H. or anything, but it was something along those lines. But yeah, I also found out doing the research that after his 3,000th hit, he did get a 10-game suspension for PEDs. I did not remember that at all about Palmeiro.
Absolutely wild.
Also, PEDs, 10-game suspension back then. Really cracking down on the steroid era. Anyway, leisure.
Can't believe they got out of control.
Yeah.
What category do you like? We got Christmas trivia, we got the spelling bee, we got the pun name game, and we got Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
I know I'm gonna get posterized probably with this. I'm gonna go with fifth grader.
Okay. Well, I
posterized.
I
like
do
it.
kind of want you to get posterized
By
by,
the way,
it.
is it a posterized if you take the charge like Landry Shamet?
Do you get the call?
It was a charge. Aaron Gordon got called for the charge. Landry Shamet took the charge. But all it was all over Top 10 on Aaron Gordon's posters, and they did this whole thing of the different people that Aaron Gordon has posterized. And maybe I have a soft spot here because it's Landry Shamet, and a Park Hill boy. But this... does it count as a posterized if you took the charge?
I think if you get the call, it probably shouldn't count.
Yeah, except for Keon Doolan. That was definitely a poster, even though it was a charge, but that was a poster, so I don't care.
I'm a fan of just running away. Every shot, anybody just ran away.
Yeah, you know what? Good on you, Landry, because that is brave to see Aaron Gordon just dribbling right at you and stand there, and he jumps and goes right through you and posterizes you, and then everybody makes fun of you, but you get to jump up and go the other way, and people are ignoring that the official called a charge.
You're not going to be in the poster if you're curled up in the fetal position on the ground.
That's a good point.
Just think about that, everybody.
It's a great point.
Pull a Mo Wagner and just shove him out of bounds.
Also do that. Yeah, it's like NFL rules now.
All right, well, if you take this charge, we won't count it as a poster.
What is the most populated city in North America? This is as of the 2015 census, which is all I've got for some reason. I have no evidence that anything has changed since then.
2015 census? That's the latest census?
That's the weirdly, it was the only one that I could find that included all the top cities.
Somebody when they were in
I
fifth
really
grade
don't
in
like
2015 did it?
That you say North America because it makes me think it's not in the U.S.
Interesting.
I don't like that the way you say that either.
Fascinating.
Because I want to say New York City, but I have no idea how large Mexico City is either.
Curious.
A lot of odd noises being made here.
What?
Man, I really have no idea. I feel like I should just go with New York City, although I feel like it's gonna be Mexico City. I'm gonna go with New York City.
Oh, damn it.
You had all the clues.
Yeah, there's a lot of clues there, Blue.
You saw Aaron Gordon coming from half court, and you said, "Let me step in front of it."
Also, Tex said, and I didn't know this, and this is where Beards needed to help me out. Said the call got reversed.
Oh, it did stand
to no charge and one.
All right. Oh, and one.
Thanks a lot, Beards.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
How are you not watching every NBA game at all times? Why aren't you following Landry Shamet?
You know what? Good on you, Landry. Good on you. I would have been like Charles and ran away, but good on you, Landry. That's why he's in the NBA and I'm here talking about him. Charles, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, sir. All right, 913-381-0810. That question is out there and available for someone to call in and request. I actually didn't see that it was reversed. I just saw the highlights over and over of then the official boom, charge the other way, and Landry Shamet jumping right up and pointing the other way and then walking. But I guess if you go and review it, they're not going to then take the time and...
Think it is a poster again, then.
Yeah,
I think posters.
Oh, if it's an and one, it's absolutely a poster.
Even if it is after review,
yes, absolutely, because it turned into a block and a foul and an and one, so it is 100% now a poster. Sorry, Landry.
He's been on the wrong side of a few of those.
There's probably plenty of kids around
he almost
here,
got his head stepped on that one,
and in the Northland and in Wichita that have Landry Shamet posters. So you know what? Why wouldn't they?
And there are a lot of Phoenix Suns fans like myself who don't. You know, I like Landry Shamet. Loved Wichita State. Was excited when the Suns got him. It's not his fault. Team's falling apart.
Yeah.
I'm just lashing out. My apologies to the family of Landry Shamet.
Nieces and nephews at Park Hill with Landry, so we like him.
Seems like a lovely guy. I just am really having a lot of bad NBA feelings right now that definitely aren't his fault.
Luka and then Landry, so yeah, I get it.
I mean, Luka could do it in regulation. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Needed overtime for 60, 20, and 10.
I know. Why does that count? That shouldn't count. Just like a poster if it's a charge.
Josh, Suns lost in regulation by 60 points to Luka in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how many finals has Luka been in? Because I think it's 0.
Yeah, but I'm told that doesn't really matter Like the championships and everything don't matter if you just put up crazy stats with bad
Yeah,
bad players
exactly.
around you. If you put up crazy stats with bad players around you, nobody cares about championships at all. They only focus on. Oh wait, with Luka they do.
We're not having this Kevin
Let's
Durant
go to
discussion
Andrew.
again.
Yes, let's go to Andrew next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Andrew, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with, sir?
I didn't hear the categories.
Yep, no problem. No problem. We've got on the sports side, we've got just general NFL. Then we have a few questions about Chiefs and Broncos, players that played for both the Chiefs and the Broncos. We have number 25. So these are players that wore number 25 jersey, NFL and NBA. I could also come up with probably another baseball or two. That's on the sports side. What about leisure, Josh?
On the leisure side, we've got the pun name game. We got the commonly misspelled word spelling bee. We've got All I Want for Christmas is Clues, which is Christmas-based trivia, largely movies. And then Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Let's go with Christmas.
Okay.
Did anybody do this last week at all? Did we even have a Christmas?
We got a few, but not a lot. And then one of them was kind of a trick question.
Very upset.
Which famous actor played 6 different roles in the animated film The Polar Express?
Tom Hanks.
That was too easy. All
really?
right. Sorry. Well, look, I still had some easy ones from last week because no one was brave enough to take them.
Name an actor.
Name an actor who's been in a lot of things.
What's Hank's first name that starred in Polar Express and A League of Their Own and Big?
Philip.
Chet. It's Chet Hanks.
And it's also the name of what might have been a famous surgery with something John. Just name that guy. Oh, Tom Hanks. Well done. Nice job.
Which famous actor played 6 different roles in the Polar Express and also led the Kansas City Chiefs to their first AFL NFL championship?
Tom Hanks.
Exactly. Just Tom Hanks. Just Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks
Stram. Yeah, that's what I was. It's a real half-assed pun name game.
I like it. All right, on to the sports side, sir. We've got NFL. We've got Chiefs, Broncos. We've got number 25.
Let's do Chiefs Broncos.
All right, Chiefs Broncos for you. Constantly viewed as the, quote, missing piece for a Chiefs defense in the early 2000s that many people, including a local columnist, really wanted the Chiefs to go out and acquire. He didn't join the team until 2006, and at that time he was 32 years old. Known for his time with the Patriots, his 2 years aren't really known in his career, even though he started every game in his time with the Chiefs, including a wild card loss to the Colts. What's even less known is the final 7 games of his career were in Denver. Also, Chiefsaholic fought this guy, and this guy won.
Wow. Oh, man.
It's a really good one.
He was a Patriot, and then he became a Chief, and then went to the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
And he was defense.
Mm-hmm. Local columnists wrote about him a lot, as in you acquired this guy, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Was he a linebacker and maybe a coach now?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Oh,
Chiefsaholic fought this guy, and this guy won.
yeah, it was Ty Law.
There you go. Yes.
It's a good hint. It's a really fun hint. Didn't he wear 24 most in?
This isn't a 25 question. This is just a Chiefs Broncos.
Oh!
Yeah,
I was doing the 24-25 thing, and then I got confused. That
On
happens a lot.
Wikipedia, he's got 24, 6, and 2.
Okay, so he did wear.
Yeah, I knew you were thinking of Vrabel when you said the linebacker and coach, but Whitlock wanted them to get Ty Law like every other week. The column was Ty Law, missing piece. Ty Law, go get Ty Law. You're going to win. If you get Ty Law, you're going to win. Ty Law. Well, you know what? They did make the playoffs with Ty Law in 06. They just lost. That's a winner, right?
That's
Andrew?
a winner.
We'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, Andrew. Well done.
Tom Hanks and Ty Law. I think that's the first time a Johnny's gift card's been won with 4 syllables. Think about
That's right.
that. That's a
That's
pretty
right.
good one.
I had to ask that one first because I was proud of the Chiefsaholic fought him.
It was good. It was a good one. I was a fan.
It was a part of me that was going to break my arm, patting myself on the back for that one. Just
sometimes we got to do that around here. That's
hurt my neck immediately, reaching to the
tore your
to the
rotator
back
cuff, patting yourself.
Yeah,
it was a good hint. It's the same reason I forced Jalen Daniels Day-Lewis. Sometimes you just feel like you're on a heater.
I guess. Let's go to John next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with, sir?
I will start with. I guess we'll try sports, and let's do NFL.
Sports, NFL. All right. I like this one, so this may be a little tougher one, but I like it. Jerick McKinnon has, or had, since December games are over now for the Chiefs, had 5 receiving touchdowns in the month of December. Who is the most recent running back to have 5 or more receiving touchdowns in a calendar month? Also happened to be December.
Oh, jeez.
So I want to give hints without giving it away.
Can you read the clue again?
One of the hints would be, I wouldn't just ask this if it was even like random, like, oh, it was Todd Gurley, or oh, you know what, we're looking for, Austin Eckler, or anything like that. You know.
Fair enough. Okay. So it's something.
5 receiving touchdowns in 1 month. The most recent running back to do it before Jerick McKinnon.
I'm just thinking out loud, but I'm feeling Priest Holmes.
It's been since, I'll tell you what, it's been since Ty Law played for the Chiefs. That's for sure. I know that.
Okay.
Now, Priest might have done that, but I'm just looking for the most recent running back.
Most recent, yeah, that makes it a little tougher. Let's go Jamal Charles.
Yeah, well done. All right, well done. There you go. Nice job. Nice job. December of 2013, Jamal Charles. So Jerick McKinnon doing something that hadn't been done since Jamal Charles.
He had 3 in one game. Was it 4 against the Raiders?
Raiders, yeah.
Might have been 4 total touchdowns through receiving.
I think it was 1 rushing touchdown, 220 yards overall, like 190 of them receiving.
5 touchdowns in the game.
5 touchdowns? You have 4 of them receiving, or 3 receiving, 2 rushing?
We're still loading.
Either way, that December of 13, he got 5 receiving touchdowns.
4 receiving.
He got 5 in the month, and he got 4 in one game.
And then 1 rushing.
I feel like McKinnon's is more respectable, right?
He had let's see if I can find it real quick here. He had 195 yards receiving in that one game.
Yep.
On 8 catches.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. The receiving yards, but I didn't remember the 4. So he had 5 touchdowns in a month, 4 came in one game, as opposed to Jerick McKinnon, who's had 5 receiving touchdowns coming in like 4 games.
He had 20 rushing yards.
So like
in that
every
game.
week,
Niall
McKinnon's
Davis
catching
led the Chiefs in rushing that game. 9 for 34.
Well, if fumbling the football is cool, consider me Niall Davis. On to leisure with Brisco.
Do you know what category you'd like?
Let's try Christmas.
Let's try Christmas.
Let's do it.
I haven't seen this movie, but maybe Jason has. In Home Alone, where are the McAllisters going on vacation when they leave Kevin behind?
Paris.
Boom!
I have 2 little boys. I've seen that movie about 30 times in the last month.
Never seen Home Alone? Out of all the times you've been home alone, Beyonce Renee's been out of the house and you've never watched it one time.
I've always been like, God, I wish I had a good on-theme thing to watch, but it's just me by myself. I wish there was a Christmas movie about this. But
I don't know, but the only thing on is Home Alone 2, and this isn't the second time I've been home alone, so I can't do that.
I definitely can't watch that one.
John will put you on hold. Congratulations. And I'm in the same boat as John. That movie and Home Alone 2 have been watched roughly 35 times each in the last month.
Yeah, sometimes I just keep that to myself that I...
6 times as many receiving touchdowns as McKinnon. We have been watching Home Alone and Home Alone 2, and not Home Alone 3 because that's a travesty they even thought of doing it. So.
I've got a bunch of It's a Wonderful Life questions because I've seen that several times. I gave you a Christmas Vacation. Actually, maybe there's a Christmas Vacation one in here. Nope, I decided I didn't want to test it because if I got any of it wrong, I mean, you would be able to fact check that so quick.
Okay, I'll come up with 30 on the top of my head.
I figured
Christmas
you might.
Vacation questions. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I was only thinking about myself.
And I was only thinking about myself. And welcome to The Zone, everybody, here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 810 We're playing Sports or Leisure, but do have some sad news to pass along. That soccer legend Pele has died. Was in the hospital throughout most of the World Cup. And there were the different reports of he's fine, it's in precautionary things, it's not a big deal. Then it was, some other people reporting, this is a bigger deal than, the family is wanting to let on. But Pele has passed away at the age of 82. Soccer legend. 3 World Cups with Brazil. So Pele has passed. I just wanted to pass that along. 913-381-810. There's no real great segue from that to...
Cool that he got to be honored even more so throughout the course of the World Cup.
It's a good point.
It being kind of a dire situation there, allowed some of the opportunities to roll out the giant jersey in the stands and that kind of thing.
That
so
is right.
some cool moments and what ended up being a sort of a pre-eulogy, I guess.
Yeah.
There's no great segue out of what I just said either, I suppose. Beards, do you want to take a crack at it?
The segue? Nope, he's on the phone. That's
You
probably one way to
take a
segue.
crack at a segue from
that.
Sad news to sports or leisure.
Well, I can do this in terms of getting it to sports. The Cowboys are in action tonight, taking on the Tennessee Titans.
Great update.
And Malik Willis will not be starting. It'll be Josh Dobbs starting for the Titans, so they go with third-string quarterback.
8 days off the Lions practice squad.
There you go.
Josh Dobbs.
Tony Pollard is out for the game tonight, so set your fantasy lineups accordingly if you're in the championship, or if you have maybe a 2-week championship, whatever it might be, the first week, or you're in a consolation game like I am. So you can set your fantasy lineups. Ezekiel Elliott will be playing.
Derrick Henry also not expected to play.
Derrick Henry, thank you.
Technically questionable or doubtful.
So tonight, awesome matchup. With no Derrick Henry, no Tannehill or Malik Willis, and no real offense to speak of for the Titans anyway, so that doesn't really matter. I do want to say real quick as we get back into Sports and Leisure, 913-381-810, I do understand where some of the Cowboy fans feel like there's a lot of disrespect for Dak. Mm-hmm. And this week kind of went along with that. The Dak against the Eagles defense and Eagles secondary is 27 of 35 for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns and runs for 41 more yards. And Deontay Foreman, who had 160 yards rushing against the Lions, is the NFC Player of the Week. Like, really?
I get it, yeah.
Deontay Foreman. By the way, Chuba Hubbard had 120 yards rushing, too.
I actually had 115 yards rushing in that game. It was against the Lions.
You know who didn't have 300 yards passing? Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
Or, he didn't do that. It was one quarterback. Like, I totally understand that if you're the Cowboys going, really? Come on, man. Like, I get it. There's some disrespect for Dak. But the NFC Player of the Week was Dak's performance against the Eagles and what he did. And, obviously the interception wasn't great.
Not great. Not a good start.
Wasn't great. But
Dug
the man had 8 incompletions, 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and 41 yards rushing against the Eagles defense that's talked about as being one of the best. And secondaries being one of the best. So
I think it's interesting that really I think because the Cowboys are the Cowboys, the pendulum swings too far on them almost any time they come up.
True.
This has been a season where they figured some things out offensively when Cooper Rush was in there for Dak. Dak came back. They kept a lot of that stuff that was working. Their offense is excellent. They have Micah Parsons and an okay defense around him, but having Micah Parsons elevates all of that. I actually think at this point the Cowboys are probably a little bit underrated because it's more fun to say that the Cowboys are overrated.
I just think you could have found probably 10 people that I would have given NFC Player of the Week to before I got to Deontay Foreman against the Lions.
Why do you hate the Panthers?
I just really wish Sam Darnold would get more of a longer
Thank
look.
you. That's what it is. It's not about Dak. It's about Sam Bleepin' Darnold.
Let's go back to play some Sports or Leisure. 913-381-810. Matt next up for Sports or Leisure. Matt, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
We'll start with leisure. Don't know the categories.
I'll read them to you again. Chuba Hubbard had better yards per carry in that game than Foreman did.
They both had 100 yards in the first half.
And Hubbard did it on 12 carries. Okay, anyway. The leisure categories are you smarter than a 5th grader? All I want for Christmas is clues, the spelling bee, and the pun name game.
Let's go Christmas.
Which one of Santa's reindeer has a name that makes me think it could also help out with another major holiday in a couple of months? Yes, Jason's got it. Jason's got it.
No, I didn't. I like how Beards gave him the ding ding. He didn't get it. I got it in my mind.
Jason just got it, Beard. Sorry, Jason just pieced it together.
Yeah, but what the noise you heard was the light bulb on top of my head turning on.
We'll go with Cupid.
Maybe we'll go with Cupid. Yes, indeed, we will.
I went through the whole thing.
See, that's the fun
we always
of it.
do we always read the night before Christmas, typically on the 22nd. Sports side for you, NFL, Broncos, Chiefs, and number 25 jersey wearers for NFL and NBA. What are you thinking?
Let's go NFL.
All right. Do we have one out there? No, we do not. We got that Jamal Charles one answered. Okay, so Joe Burrow surpassed 70 touchdown passes and at least 5 rushing touchdowns for a player's first 40 games of their career. 40 games, 70 touchdowns, and 5 or more rushing touchdowns. There are 4 active players to have at least 70 and 5 in their first 40 games. 70 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns in their first 40 games. There are 4 active players. Name 2 because of the free space.
I'll go with Mahomes as one of them.
That's the free space. So name one of the other 3. There might be
active.
Yep, there might be 2 free spaces. I don't know. I just figured the main one was the Ed's Mahomes, and then 70 touchdown passes, 5 rushing touchdowns in their first 40 games. Burrow's the 5th one, active player.
I have a guess. I'm just trying to think if he did this. I'm gonna guess Josh Allen.
Is that not it?
It is not Josh
Allen.
Allen.
I thought that was a free space. I thought that was a free. I am
Not
shocked.
Josh Allen.
What? Really?
Yeah, not Josh Allen. Matt, thank you for playing, man. I really appreciate it. 913-3-810-810.
I thought I might have had all 4 of them, but that would have been my second guess also.
I believe the touchdowns were missing for
I'm
Joshua Allen.
Yeah, he must not have been as productive through the air that first.
Well, I mean, he has
year, I guess.
He has gotten better. Let's see.
And absolutely. I mean that could have just been the modern Josh Allen. Wasn't necessarily the first thing you saw Josh Allen. So wow.
Yeah. So let's see. He had 30 passing touchdowns in his first 2 years. So that would be the 20.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably going to be hard to come back from.
28 games that he played.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
28 games and 30 passing touchdowns. He would have to have 40 in 12 games.
Seemed unlikely. Don't think he did that.
I mean, it could be more than 3, but that'd be 12 straight games to start 2020.
Yeah.
To have the 4 touchdowns. Typically, that doesn't happen. All right, let's go to that question is out there. Let's go to Charles next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Can you put me behind the next caller?
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe he did some advanced scouting on the caller. I'm guessing it's just a hey, we need a second.
He might be like in line.
Maybe
or
he just maybe
Charles
he just
will
needs
put you
a
on
second.
hold. Put you on hold. And now up to the T-Box is T-Box.
Okay. Not a lot of faith in you, T-Box.
I like that one. T-Box, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's go leisure. What are the categories? Sorry, I missed them.
We've got Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? All I Want for Christmas is Clues, the Spelling Bee, and the Pun Name Game.
If the pun name game, if you have anything older, I can do that. If it's newer, I'll do fifth grader.
I got a good one for you, I think, because you'll hopefully figure it out. This savior quarterback of the Denver Broncos hasn't been able to hold on, but perhaps he'll find a second career by uniting with the daughters of the frontman of the Beach Boys and the daughter of her mama and her papa. They'd make better music than the Broncos have.
Russell Wilson Phillips.
There we go. No hesitation.
Hey, and I'm gonna go bang bang and try and get that other question that the guy just guessed Josh Allen on.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Can I get a twofer on that with another Russell Wilson?
Currently going through the Josh Allen ones here. So Josh Allen, first 40 games, 58 touchdowns.
Okay. Is
23 rushing touchdowns. So he did have the 5 rushing touchdowns.
Did the double feature work on the Russell Wilson front? I had him on my list also. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. There's no double feature today.
No, I thought I've been wrong on this one twice.
No double feature today.
I was going to wish you guys happy holidays. But
Hey.
now I'm just going to Grinch out on you.
Happy holidays
Thank
to
guys.
you, T-Box, because you got my question right.
Yes, thank you, sir. It's not a happy holiday for T-Box or Russell Wilson. So,
oh God, I'm not gonna say what the other one was, but my top 4 included Russell Wilson and Josh Allen.
yeah.
I'm surprised Russ didn't do it either.
So did the Denver Broncos, and they're
Yeah,
both
no
wrong.
kidding.
Let's go to Charles next up. Charles, you ready to go?
Charles not quite ready. That's all right. That's okay.
I'm here.
Oh, Charles is back. All right, Charles.
Are you ready now, or do you need to get one more person cut in front of you?
You like that question?
All right.
I'm good.
Sports or leisure? What are you thinking? What side are you thinking?
Do leisure.
What category do you like? We got Christmas, we got the spelling bee, the pun name game, and are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Smarter than a 5th grader.
How many inches are in 2 yards?
2 yards. 72.
Nice job.
Good math. Good mental math.
Yep.
That
Everybody
one's
started doing it.
Yep.
So 30 feet,
That's when everybody
12
gets
inches,
quiet.
12,
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to do
12
live on the
times
radio.
6 is 72. Boom. All right, on to the sports side, Charles. We got NFL, we've got Chiefs and Broncos, and we have number 25 jerseys.
So just general NFL? Is that the deal?
Yep, just general NFL, and the question that's still out there about the
That one
quarterbacks.
is the Grim Reaper meme right now, though. Call it. Call it.
How many touchdowns?
What's
and
the general NFL?
general NFL. New question for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes became the 4th quarterback in NFL history to throw at least 35 touchdown passes in 3 consecutive seasons. Name 2 of the other 3. At least 3 years, 35 or more touchdowns.
35 touchdowns or more in 3 consecutive years?
Mm-hmm. Would be 5 if it wasn't for that damned Denver Broncos. If it wasn't for that damned QB sneak.
Oh, man. Let's see. 35 or more. Patrick Mahomes is a free space, right?
Yeah, he is the 4th one to do it. So
3 before him.
3 before him. All of them, by the way, all of them are retired. So there is no current players here.
That helps. I want to say Elway. That's wrong, isn't it?
Elway did not do it.
Oh!
Damn it. Elway
Dang it.
did not do it.
There have been some good answers not getting
Yes,
victories today.
I know.
I've also been wrong a lot. If that makes any of the callers feel better, it probably makes you feel worse.
I know. Would Mahomes have got to 35? He needed 9 more touchdowns. He had 26 in 2019.
He
so
missed
he missed 2.5 games. 2 and 7/8 games.
Mm-hmm.
9 touchdowns, 3, 6, 9. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Let's go to. Let's see who's up next. Sam is up next. Sports or leisure, Sam. What side do you want to start with?
Can I go back to that question about the guy that guessed Russell Wilson that's wrong?
Yes, the 70 touchdown passes in the first 40 games, along with 5 rushing touchdowns. That Joe Burrow is the 5th active quarterback to do that. Name 2 of the other 4. Patrick Mahomes was guessed. That was right, along with Josh Allen and Russell Wilson, who were both wrong. So there are 3 others out there.
I think I got to go with Aaron Rodgers.
Also.
Duh, Grim Reaper question, man.
Isn't that amazing?
Grim Reaper question.
Also incorrect.
Oh, man.
Yep. Sam, thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it. 913-3810810.
I got a couple more guesses, but none of them have been good since the Mahomes one.
Let's go to Mike next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mike, sports or leisure?
Hey,
What
guys.
side do you want to start with?
I'm going to go with that same question that everybody keeps getting wrong.
Okay.
I've had it pegged from the beginning. I'm going to keep it in the AFC West. I think it's Justin Herbert.
Boom, it is Justin
There
Herbert.
we go.
It is Justin Herbert that did that as well. The other 2, Deshaun Watson
Really?
and Matt Stafford.
Huh.
Those
Matt
were
Stafford had wheels back in
those
the
are
day, huh?
Stafford, then Watson, then Mahomes, then Herbert, and now Burrow. Those are the 5 active quarterbacks, 70 touchdowns.
I got to
and
see how many
5
rushing touchdowns Matthew Stafford has, because this is an incredible
Well,
development.
He had at least 5 in his first 40 games.
I believe you.
On to leisure with Josh.
You know what category you want?
Did someone already get, I missed a little part, did someone already get the largest city in North America question?
No, that one is still out there. The most populated city in North America.
I believe it's Mexico City.
You would believe correct.
That's right. Well done. Well done, sir.
Toronto's number 4, so there was almost at New York 2 and LA 3. So Chicago 5.
Very well done. All right, we'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks.
Do they have a Johnny's Tavern in Mexico City? I don't believe they do.
Wish they did.
I mean, it would be a more inconvenient commute than the several that are closer to here.
Yeah.
By several, I mean all of them, I think. Is there a Johnny's Tavern roughly that far away? Don't think so. I think we're good.
I'm going through currently Aaron Rodgers games.
15 career rushing touchdowns for Matt Stafford. Only one since 2017. That was this year.
First 40 games that Aaron Rodgers played in, he had 61 touchdowns. And 9 rushing. So there you go. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. I think that is the end of the game. Beard says we're low on time because of those damned press conferences.
How dare they?
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Johnny's Tavern, $25 we gave away for Sports or Leisure. We'll tell you the answers to some of the questions we did not get answers to, including one question that we did not get an answer to, and we'll tell you what that answer is next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sometimes when my eyes are glazed over, it means I'm not paying attention, and more often it means I'm really working on a barbecue pun.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
So we started looking at different quarterbacks that had the that were guessed for the 70 touchdowns and at least 5 rushing touchdowns in a player's first 40 games who were still active. Now, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and Justin Herbert and Matt Stafford have done it. Josh Allen did not have the passing touchdowns. Russell Wilson had 63 passing touchdowns in his first 40 games. Aaron Rodgers, and this is where I feel bad about, because had I gone back and done it again, I would have changed what the actual question was that came up on the screen for the players that have done that, and Joe Burrow being the 5th active player to have this happen, and then the other names on the screen being Mahomes, Watson, Herbert, and Stafford. Because the caveat to that was it's 40 games, not their first 40 starts. And so Aaron Rodgers playing 7 games before he started. Those were games in which he did not start, just came off the bench.
Sometimes you play the game, sometimes the game plays you.
Right.
Sports or leisure is a cruel mistress.
Yeah, I know. But so I didn't even look it up. I'm like, then went and looked at Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, wait a minute, his first 40. I'm like, oh, wait, he's got those other games in the first few years that he played in, but did not start and didn't throw touchdowns in. So that kind of hurts it. But if I would have done it again, I would have said first game, 40 game start, and I would have taken Aaron Rodgers. I would have accepted Aaron Rodgers because that would have been correct. So there you go. The other question that we did not get an answer to, that Patrick Mahomes became the 4th quarterback in NFL history to throw at least 35 touchdown passes in 3 consecutive seasons. I wanted him to name somebody to name 2 of the other 3. Elway was guessed, and that was incorrect. So it didn't even get 1. And then we didn't have anybody else call and request that one. So the 3 players to have at least 3 consecutive years of 35 touchdown passes or more.
Peyton had to do it, right?
Peyton.
Did Drew Brees do it?
Drew Brees, where you at? Who dat?
You said who dat, now all of a sudden I'm thinking who day, and I wanted to say Carson Palmer, and I don't believe in that one at all. I don't know why that's the word association game that I played.
Drew Brees was where you at, who dat?
None of them are, they're all retired, you said, right?
Yes.
Not that they all should be retired, because that could include Brady, Wilson, a couple more maybe.
No, actually retired, not playing anymore.
Did Montana do it?
This guy should actually...
Oh, Dan Marino.
No, he didn't do it.
Oh,
either.
really? Okay.
The third guy should be playing in the next installment of The Longest Yard. Should be playing quarterback in the next installment of The Longest Yard. Brett Favre.
That makes sense. I was thinking I did like that one.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't have any open leisure questions, but I have one Christmas one that survived that I just wanted to also ask along the lines of the last one. Do you know the name of, this is more of a joke and less of trivia. Do you know the name of Steve Spagnuolo's favorite reindeer?
Blitzen.
He loves Blitzen.
Again, I'll just go through in my head.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Because otherwise, if you just have it, it's no fun.
How does Gary Lezak not use that as a dad joke in the morning with the Border Patrol?
You can have that one.
Should use that tomorrow. Hey, Nate, what's Steve Spagnuolo's favorite reindeer? Blitzen.
I offer that freely. Hey, also, Matt Derrick says no McCole Hardman on the practice field today. That's a big surprise.
Interesting.
So, not on the active roster, so we won't have any injury updates on him, but it's like he was trending towards playing, and now maybe not.
Certainly sounded like he was trending towards playing, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire was probably even a long shot for the next couple of weeks before the end of the season. It'd be nice to get him out there, get that rhythm going again.
Yes.
I mean, Eric Bieniemy talked about that they just want to be on the same page come playoff time. That's what the next couple of weeks are about, because you got the Broncos that have fired their coach. You've got the Raiders.
Fired their quarterback,
and he left, and they placed other guys on IR, Chandler Jones, etc. So we'll see. The program with Todd Levo comes up next.